news. Everything's falling apart.
Well, America's a few steps behind Canada, but not too far behind.
Not too far. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm glad to say that Canada is not a world leader. This is bad.
Hey, everyone. I have courtesy of WickedFelina, my Elvis glasses.
You got your Elvis glasses. Oh. Almost, but not quite horn-rimmed reading glasses. Oh, actually, let me get my Ray-Bans. I recently got reading glasses. Where did I put them? So,
hey everyone. The Felina will be back to join us in the Elvis stream. She is the only Elvis expert among us, so we cannot provide much edification as far as Elvis knowledge goes. But how are you feeling, Adrian? Canadian Adrian?
I feel good. I should put that in my name, Canadian Adrian. I feel good. I had a lovely nap. I rode my motorbike for a while, get the battery charged up, refueled it, did some dishes, barbecued a pork chop, had some veggies. It wasn't a busy day. Mostly I played video games, but I got some things done. Not bad for Friday night.
Did you get very frustrated in a Los Angeles traffic jam and then storm out and then rampage through Los Angeles to get back to your ex-wife's house?
No.
Yeah.
Although there's a great song about stuff like that. Getting back to your ex-wife's house is called "The Regulator" by a group called Clutch, and it's basically a murder ballad. This guy, he's tormented by things in life, and he goes back to the house where he lived with his wife, and he gets her. But it's not obvious in the song, so I'll let you guys find that out for yourselves. It's called "The Regulator." It's the premise is that it's about a clock called the regulator. You know, the clock that you might have acquired with your loved one, a beautiful, large, grand clock, a regulator. Anyway, so the song is called "The Regulator," and I think there's a lot of double entendre in that by a group called Clutch.
Entendre. I'm sorry, I'm not French Canadian. Entendre.
But when it comes to traffic, you know, I build that into.
I was making a reference to the movie Falling Down.
I love Falling. Oh, right. Now I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
It was very much a time capsule. Yeah.
Fantastic. Especially if you look at it in the context, I don't know how familiar the audience is here with Red Pill and Blue Pill, but the guy's just had enough. He's had enough, and he just wants to respect himself and not have to be forced to eat shit all day.
Yeah.
By punks and goons, people in suits, the po-po, everybody.
Yes. Very, very. It was very much. I even remember at the time it was forced into this narrative. Mm-hmm. It's basically what we would now call white rage for some reason. The race aspect was kind of grafted onto it by the mainstream media, even though the movie didn't have anything to do with race.
Nothing to do with whiteness. It's not white rage. It's about the rage that comes from when you're being disrespected continuously.
Yeah. You know, and just a guy trying to mind his own family, and there are all these contravening forces. You know.
Yep. There's a neat review of that. I think on the website on the YouTube channel Men Are Good. They did a review of the movie. Now.
It sounds like you could write "Men Are Good" on a piece of paper and put it up on a wall on the college campus, and they'd be bearing torches.
Oh yeah. If you say something as controversial, now listen carefully. It's only a few short words, but if you say men's rights are human rights, that's going to get you beat up.
Mm-hmm.
It is true. I'm not even an MRA.
No.
But you know, divorce law. And you know what? This is not to do with Elvis. I'm so sorry.
Well, we don't have a base of knowledge of Elvis.
I won't even be able to see the
Elvis
screen.
songs.
I think I'm here for contrast because I'm not actually an Elvis fan. I mean, I'm
an Elvis admirer. I have to admit, Felina has been instrumental in sort of helping me appreciate Elvis because, like, all the things all the clips she gives me, they're the deep cuts. They're not the things that everyone knows. Everyone knows Hound Dog. Everyone knows all those Capitol songs. Hey,
beautiful.
We can't hear you.
These. Oh, you can say? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. These are your sunglasses, Adrian.
Oh.
You never can. It's Trudeau's fault that you can't get out of Canada, so you can wear them because they're.
I got bug-eyed sunglasses. I may have something. Give me a second.
Kind of attractive, but and then we got. Oh, he's gonna get his bug eyes. Ooh.
You have double sunglasses.
Yeah, man. Because I'm like Janis Joplin and I'm on drugs.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, man.
I can't put my hand in front of the fucking 5 minutes. 5 seconds.
Okay.
5 seconds. Okay. All right. So, if you ask me if I'm ready, I say no. But we can begin. I'll begin telling the story of the Presleys and the Smiths. Basically, that was Gladys Love Smith, was Elvis's mother, and these are female. These are girls. These are Elvis glasses for women. Isn't that cool? Cool, man.
You look awesome.
Peace, man. Peace. Like, I took a lot of drugs so I could read that book. Okay. This is about why Elvis died, and it's actually pretty important. And is it Black Samurai, you still in the building? Peace, you still in the building? Looks like people are just, they're not even here. Maybe they don't want to see you guys. Maybe that's it. Start the stream with you guys and nobody's there, man.
By the way, I just want to reiterate, I don't have the ability to contribute to the comments, so I'm not ignoring you guys. Hello, Peace. Hello, Black Samurai. But I just can't write a comment. I don't know why.
Felina's going back in time. Yes, I have. That's so. If you're still there, okay. Black Samurai is still in the building. Thank you very much. Now, 5 seconds. Did he say he'd be back in 5 seconds?
Either 5 seconds or 5 minutes. So there's a difference there of a degree of 60.
Unmuted. Yeah, no, please carry on. So you just got the fancy glasses, and it was Gladys Presley was in the act of.
That's the last thing you heard.
Gladys
that was
Presley
the last thing. Yeah. Catching up now. Oh yes, I'm catching up right here now. Did you say Gladys Presley?
Gladys Presley was busy conceiving Elvis.
Not yet. Not where I'm starting.
So she was a glint.
What's that?
So he was not even a glint in Gladys's eye.
He wasn't even a glint. Elvis's first relative, Andrew Presley, that came over to America, apparently got beat up really bad in New Orleans. They don't like the Italians in New Orleans, and they don't like Presleys either. So he also he fought in the Revolutionary War. That's why Elvis gets all his is his patriotism. It goes from all the way back. And what happened was that these people, once they got a tiny bit of land, they moved to where the work and the money was, and they just like left the land instead of trying to cultivate the land, because they were just really poor. And they became sharecroppers after. Oh, he's gone now. Okay. Oh, now you can see Elvis. Look at that. Oh, there you go. He was covering my Elvis there. Where do my tits go here? Which direction do they go? So you can see Elvis.
Yes.
This is very important.
Yes.
Apparently, well, anyway, sharecroppers, former slaves, the slaves that were freed, they became sharecroppers along with the very, very poor white people. Like it was like 1/3 poor white people, and the rest were freed slaves. And a sharecropper basically is somebody owns the land. It's not you. And you have to grow a lot of food on the land. And 50% of what you earn and what you grow, you have to give to the landlord. And if you have enough, hopefully that you make a tiny bit. But if you don't have enough and you don't have enough to give to the landlord, these people would leave. They would leave in the middle of the night with what little they had. They were so poor that they wore their shoes until they busted out of them, and their clothes until they busted out of them. They were on the same people of the North, and unfortunately, the generations today, the young folk today, they don't know that there were poor white people in the South, and they were on the same level as the freed slaves. They were not given any privilege. So being friends, white people who were poor, being friends with black people who were former slaves, they're on the same level. It would be really stupid of them to feel like they had privilege or to be racist, because the people who were racist, like, the KKK that belongs to a certain party that will not be mentioned tonight, those people were racist. And then interesting, the first slave owner in America was a guy named Anthony Johnson. And he was black, from Africa. He's black. So people don't realize that this is a class thing. This is not about a color thing. It's actually about class. And there was 10,000 slaves owned by exclusively African slave owners. People have no idea that this is not a color thing at all whatsoever. So Elvis's family was that poor. Now, what's her face? Oh, the big O, we won't mention her name, but she's probably the wealthiest woman in the world. Well, a while back, she pulled a fast one on Lisa Marie Presley, which we are going to be doing a Canadian is waiting to be added to the stream. I'm sorry. You were back. You left. You came back. So she pulled a fast one on Lisa Marie. And she said that your father's family owned mine as slaves. So Lisa Marie said, you're officially a member of the Presley family. The Presley family was just as poor as the mother side of the family. They owned nothing. What little they got, they lost. They were on the same level as freed slaves. They were that poor. Can you imagine wearing shoes until they wear out, and then you have no shoes and you have no clothing? So once a year, you get a new set of clothes or a new shoes. So these people were they would walk. Elvis's grandfather walked 7 miles to work every day, and he'd work 12 to 16-hour days. And he was a pretty darn handsome guy. And it was this particular Rob. Oh, his name is Rob. Rob Smith. His name is Rob. And his wife Doll were actually were actually first cousins. So that explains a lot about Rob and myself. They were first cousins. Let me show you a picture of them. They're actually very, very attractive.
Well, that's
I mean, they really are good-looking people. There you go.
No.
Here we are. Let me hold that up to the. They're actually very attractive, and she was known as being. She was so delicate and fragile. She was like. Did you ever see those very old porcelain dolls that have black hair?
Yep.
And they're made out of porcelain. They're made of porcelain, so the hair is black, the skin is very white, and they've got a certain kind of hairdo. And her hair is kind of like that. And that's his grandfather. You see, they kind of look very Native American. And the reason why is first of all, they are part Native American. And another thing is that they're first cousins. So the Native American wasn't diluted. So what happened was there was they called this alpha 1 gene that both of them had since they were first cousins. They were related. And this particular protein leaves the liver and enters the lungs and protects the lungs from getting toxins into the body. And for people who don't have that, end up dying of heart disorders and lung disorders. And apparently there was some kind of gene also that gave kidney disease too on the Presley side. So Gladys, their daughter Gladys, was guaranteed she would get this. Now, this was a time during tuberculosis when they called it consumption because it consumed the whole body and you end up spitting blood. You know, your lungs fill up with fluid. So that's why they call it consumption. But they thought it was tuberculosis. They had no idea about genes and passing on genes, and cousins marrying each other isn't a good idea. Well, they thought Doll had tuberculosis, but she never caught it from anybody and she never passed it to anybody. And she got pregnant 8 times, God bless her. And she spent most of her life in bed. So she lived for 30 years with this disease, which they thought was tuberculosis. And Gladys and all the girls, they would go out and they would work 12-hour days. I mean, they would sew for 12 hours. And they had to take care of their mother. And the father had to walk 7 miles to work every day. That's 14 miles of walking. And that's, and he would work 12 to 16-hour days. And we're talking poverty that's beyond poverty. You know, we can't imagine this kind of poverty. And we think, you know, so Oprah, that was not nice of her. And going back, every book I've ever read about Elvis goes all the way, the ones that are good go back in their genealogy to when the Presleys first came to America. And the Scottish and the Irish, when they came here, were sent here as indentured servants, right? Which means that, and they were what happened was the Vikings starved the Scots out, but then the English sent them. And the English starved the Irish out and took away the husbands and then made them indentured servants and left the women and children. And then they decided, okay, we're going to send them all to be slaves. And that's the Great Potato Famine. Basically, they were starving to death, these people. And they had a bright idea, the English. See, this is about class. This is not about color. The English used to hang anybody, even if you were English, you're just on a lower class system. If you stole something, even if it was a trowel, so you can work your own garden, you were hung. They hung you if you stole one piddly little thing, or they throw you in the hole of death. The hole of death is a big, you should like this, Adrian, a big iron cover that was that led, and you pulled the cover off, and it was a hole, and it looked like a basement, but underneath on the bottom were these spikes. And when they didn't want someone anymore, like one of their indentured servants, not Africans from Africa, white people, when they didn't want them anymore, they'd done something bad, they'd throw them down this hole, they'd land on the spikes, and then they would die slowly with all the other dead people underneath them, because they'd put that iron cover over them. So this is what they did. They killed you. And it also, if you're poor, you're just being poor, we can make money on you by sending you off as indentured servants. But these people were so.
Felina, I'm gonna have to cut you off. People tuned in for Elvis, and they're hearing about the whole of that.
No. These are the people that Elvis came from. I'm trying to paint you a picture of the kind of poverty and why Elvis's family came over to this country to begin with. It was this kind of poverty. And people, okay, you might not like history, but if you want to know and you really want to understand where Elvis came from, who Elvis was, and how much he was not a racist, it could make your head spin, the kind of poverty that he and his family, generation after generation, endured. So after his mother married Vernon Presley, Gladys, she had to work 12-hour days sewing, and then she had to go over and take care of her mother because she was still alive. The father died. Oh, he died a horrific death. I forget the kind of death he died. But he died some kind of horrific death. I forget it was a sickness. That's how tired I am. I figure it was a sick, but he died young, and he died a horrific death.
Oh, that's too bad.
And the other thing is that the Vester Presley married Cletus, Gladys's sister. So Gladys married Vernon Presley. Gladys Smith married Vernon Presley. And Vester Presley married Clettes. I have no idea how to pronounce that name, by the way. She married Vester Presley. So it was kind of like another what do you call it? Genetic disaster ready to happen. Apparently, because they were all so poor, see, very poor people can't marry outside of their class. So a lot of times they will marry the people that they know. And people who are above you don't live near you. And if you have a drop of something that's not white, then you have your own particular class and your own particular people that you marry into. And it was a small group of people. So that's the reason why we see a lot of brother, sister, cousin marriages. But let's not forget that the Franklin Delano Roosevelt married his first cousin, Eleanor Roosevelt. They were related. And of course, all the pharaohs, the father would marry his daughters. So it's something that happened with, and of course, all the royals, they all intermarried with their cousins.
I think J.S. Bach was married to his cousin, yeah.
Who, what?
J.S. Bach. So yeah, it was a common thing.
It was among the very wealthy. Go ahead.
My cousins are pretty hot, and they're nice. I'd marry them.
Okay.
Why
Well,
not?
But if there's a
This is Canada
gene,
now. So that was prevalent because of the class structure at the time.
yeah. So apparently the Presleys also shared some genes in common with the Smiths. So by intermarrying, you had a mix of a gene pool of a horribly, horribly deadly gene pool, which Gladys got. She inherited it, and Elvis happened because he was the son of Vernon.
Mhm.
He inherited his gene pool too, which had some deadly genetics, some diseases passed on. So Elvis pretty much got everything. Now, Elvis lived in about 12 homes before he got to government housing, which is like a ghetto government housing in Memphis. And those were definitely non-white people. The man that lived above them was a rabbi. Jewish people were also not considered white. So Gladys Presley, she was a very, see if I can find a fake picture. She was known as being very vivacious, really funny, would take things in stride. She was the life of the party, even though she was extremely, extremely poor. Oh, and by the way, here's an interesting thing you meat eaters would like to hear. Elvis, the kind of poverty, no, I say, oh, Elvis ate cheeseburgers his whole life. Well, Elvis was so poor. These people were so poor.
How poor were they?
They couldn't even afford McDonald's, the dollar menu at McDonald's. They never ate meat because they were too poor to afford meat. So Elvis would have literally slices of tomato and some lettuce, whatever vegetables were growing in the garden, just slice that up, maybe have that with a little mayonnaise. But so when he got money, he started to get money, he got himself a cheeseburger. He goes, oh boy, I can't wait to eat a cheeseburger. So it isn't like he was eating like crap. They didn't have the money to buy
crappy McDonald's.
even the cheapest cut of meat. That's how poor. He never saw meat. The family never saw meat.
Wow.
The father worked about 5 jobs, and one job was supposed to pay him $4 for the week. $4 for the week. And apparently the guy didn't like the way Elvis's father worked. Here's a picture of Elvis's mother. See how skinny she is? And she's actually a very pretty woman. It's just a very poor picture. And she's really skinny. And what we need to think, what happens to Gladys? Elvis was also extremely skinny when he first started. And then all of a sudden he started to gain weight because he started to eat. He was severely malnutritioned. Nobody knows this about Elvis. They just assume he ate fatty foods, and he was extremely skinny and extremely gaunt when he first started. And then he started because he started to eat. Now, the only thing, because the father was put in jail because they could tell that the check, he altered the check. Here's a dollar you're not worth 4. He altered the check because he built a 2-room shotgun shack. And lumber was $180, and he wasn't able to pay off $180, especially going to jail. You're not going to pay off the $180. So they were again homeless. And Elvis, a very interesting story. In fact, I wanted to tell last year. And these people are these very poor whites are actually very close. People don't realize they're poor whites. They must be racist. Everything's
Well, that's the
poor
narrative.
whites were actually very close to Native Americans. because a lot of them married and mixed in with Native Americans. So actually, they weren't racist. They weren't. You were in a different class if you had one drop of black blood in you. You could not, because this is Jim Crow South. They segregated, and it's great how they're segregating now again. Can you believe it? And people actually want to be segregated. Now, what party would do that? Well, it's the same party that did it back then, by the way. Yeah.
Just saying.
So it's so anyway, Elvis became the man of the house, and he kept promising his mother, "I'll buy you a house, mommy. You and daddy will never be homeless." And he would ride around on his little bike, and he kept patting her head when he got where she was sitting and worrying. And he would pat her head, "Don't worry, mommy. I'll take it." His whole purpose in life was not to become a musician. The reason why, one of the reasons why he didn't get rid of Colonel Parker was Colonel Parker, of course, he did take 50%. He's only supposed to take 10%. But Colonel Parker convinced him, "I can get you the best deals. You might not be doing the best kind of music, but you're going to be making the best money." But not really, because he took advantage of him, called him boy all the time, which is very derogatory, which is what they called slaves back then. And he was a slave because he paid for all the expenses. He paid for everything and couldn't stop giving things away, including, he also gave horses away, dogs away, not just cars. He just kept houses. He just kept giving anybody who he heard of that was there, they couldn't pay their mortgage, or they were very sick, or the child couldn't get, or the parent couldn't get medical help. He would say, "Give them, pay them, give them money." He would find it in the newspaper. Anybody who told him, he would say, "I'll pay for it." He was constantly, his father said, "Elvis, you can't keep giving all this money away. You can't keep giving these gifts away. You can't get," that's why he had all these rings on his fingers, is because he once somebody complimented him, because Jesus said, if anybody asks for your cloak, give them your shoes, give them your cloak, just give. And so he couldn't wait to give it to them, because it was worth a heck of a lot of money, and nobody expected to get anything from Elvis that was that expensive. And in fact, the people around Elvis started to say, "Don't compliment anything, because he'll just take it off and give it to you, or he'll buy you a brand new one. If he doesn't give you the one that he's wearing, he'll give you a brand new one."
Wow. People could really take advantage of that.
Yeah. So what happened was, during this time when Vernon was in prison, Gladys, the gene pool started to kick in. She started to get sick. Now, Gladys's liver started to deteriorate, and that was a part of that alpha 1 variant, that particular gene. And it deteriorated to hepatitis, and then it goes to cirrhosis. It starts to break down. And people have been saying over the years, because they know that she died of congenital heart failure and liver, people assumed, "Oh, she's poor. She must have been making moonshine her whole life and drinking. That's why. That's why her liver went." Because people think hepatitis, and they don't know that can be transferred sexually, even through food. There's different types, A, B, and C, different types of hepatitis.
Yeah.
And people just automatically think that it's alcohol. It's alcohol. Oh, of course, they're poor whites. They must be drinking alcohol. Well, Elvis, the father and the mother, were not drinkers. They did not drink. They did not smoke. They did not swear, because it was not good. The Bible says don't do that. And what happened was, she she started to look towards the end of her life, which unfortunately Elvis finally bought her. For the first paycheck, he buys her a pink Cadillac and buys her a diamond bracelet and put that in the glove compartment. And he said, well, I had to have, what'd you do? You didn't have to buy me this car. Well, I had to have something to wrap the bracelet in, Ma. And then he gave them the house, their first house, before they bought Graceland. And she started to deteriorate, and she couldn't breathe well, and the liver was going, and she had extremely dark circles under her eyes.
Wow.
And she started to bloat up, except it was edema in the legs and in the stomach and in the face. And her blood was off when that dark circles under her eyes is basically her system is filling up with toxins, because the gene that she's supposed to have, she was born without. And so she's not getting rid of the toxins in her body. And they know it's not good. Elvis got her the best heart doctor that money could buy, of course. But he went into the army, and while he was in the army is when she died, but he was with her when she passed away. And they knew it wasn't going to be that longer. And all of a sudden, she went from that happy-go-lucky, funny woman that everybody wanted to be around to very melancholy, very depressed, because when the toxins are not eliminated and they fill up your body, they give you brain fog. They fill up your brain and you cannot think clearly. And so you even say and do crazy things.
I believe
And
that, for sure.
most people, what's that?
I said I believe that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people, it's
Adrian got brain fog from the vaccine, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is gold. I changed this to gold fabric, but the violet makes everything. There it is. It's gold. The violet makes everything violet. You're turning violet.
Violet Beauregard.
That's right. Violet Beauregard. Okay, just a second.
Loves her chewing gum.
So, they're very simple people, and even though she refused to wear expensive clothing because she was so poor, when you're that poor, at any moment, everything could be lost. So she kept all her clothes. And if you see, all her clothes were put back from the storage, from the attic, back into the closet, because after she died, his grandmother, Minnie Mae, he had Minnie Mae living in there. He had his whole family and his cousins and everybody. Everybody lived at Graceland. It was kind of like Beverly Hillbillies. I think that's where they got the idea for Beverly Hills. I love Elvis, but when I see Jethro, I'm going, Beverly Hillbillies. She used to, and he had to let her do it. She wanted to do the cooking and she wanted to do the washing. And she would wash the clothes and hang them outside to dry. Mm-hmm. And he had fields of corn, and he used to use the tractor and plow the corn. I mean, Elvis behind Graceland they were growing corn. And she used to feed the chickens in the front yard. She wanted to have chickens. My mom's going to have chickens. So you would think, I'm a rock star, Ma. You're embarrassing me. Stop get that apron off of you and those old clothes and stop feeding the chickens in the front yard. But he loved her so much. And since he was the king, he basically started the whole thing, which people don't realize, that he changed an entire culture and he gave it a sound that nobody had ever heard before. And didn't really steal anything from anybody. Thomas Rufus will tell you that he gave an injection into Black music that nobody had ever done before. And as we know, prior to Elvis, we had people like Fats Domino, which love Fats Domino, and Bill Haley on the Comets. Nothing was sexual. Nothing was sexual. It was Elvis that injected the sex into there. Speaking of Rufus Thomas, he was African American, and he was an entertainer and a singer. And in Memphis, Elvis gave to 55 charities in Memphis. And one of the charities And we never hear of this today. In a way, thank God, because back then things were segregated. He went and performed with this man named Thomas Rufus. He would dress up like a clown, and Elvis and he would get together and perform for disabled African American children, and gave to that fund as well. And that's, when you used to call Elvis racist, it's like, stop. You have to stop saying that now. Really, it's like, stop. People don't even know what he did. And the St. Jude's Children's Hospital is there. He bought this boat. I forget the name of the boat, but it was one of those boats that was World War II or something. And it was a boat that was very expensive and historical. He bought it and gave it to St. Jude's Research Hospital so they can auction it off and get more money for it. And Elvis was seen anytime he was at home. Mm-hmm. He would go to St. Jude's Hospital at night, because that's when he lived by night, because it's when he performed was at night. So he would go in, and the nuns would be working there, and he'd ask the nuns if the kids or they needed anything. You're doing God's work. The reason why I know that is because Peter Gorelnik was at a talk. He's the one who did Last Train to Memphis and Careless Love. There's two books which are the go-to books for Elvis biography. And I happened to be in the audience, and a man stood up and said, my grandfather was a security guard there. And I said, I know that nobody knows this because Elvis didn't tell anybody, but he used to do this in secret. He would just go by himself at night. And of course, for some reason, I'm thinking of the famous fried banana sandwich, which also was not meat. It wasn't meat. And this is how it was made, if anybody wants to know how it was made. And when you realize how it was made and how they keep telling us today, first they said butter was bad. Then they realized margarine was bad because it was hydrogenated. Things that are emulsified, like mayonnaise is emulsified. That's okay. And I could describe the emulsification process, so you know that it's different. Basically, it's whipped to a point where all the molecules are running around, and the water molecule sticks to basically it sticks to the what do you call it? The egg, which is the emulsifier, and so the oil also sticks to the egg, and you just keep running around real fast, and it sticks together, and that's hydrogenated. So it's not that isn't bad for you. So Elvis used to, the fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches were a very cheap way to get food when you're poor. And the poverty of the South was, or when you were poor in the South, when the Depression happened across the country, you didn't notice any difference because you were already living that poverty. So the fried banana sandwich wasn't exactly bad for your health because they used butter, they used margarine. And in those days, they didn't hydrogenate like Skippy. They take the oil and they turn it into margarine instead of just, grinding it down. And then because when you grind it down, the oil and the peanut butter kind of separates a little bit. People don't like that. So they hydrogenate it and make it basically not really healthy, but it's all in a lump. It's all creamy, and people don't really realize what has happened to that peanut butter. But fried banana sandwich is you take 2 slices of bread, probably homemade bread, right? And you fry one, you put butter on one side, and basically you're putting butter on both sides, and you fry one side, and then you flip it over. And so the fried side is you lay your bananas and on one side, and you put your peanut butter on the other. There's no sugar in it either. And then you fry the outsides in some butter. And butter is actually, if you're going to do high frying, deep frying, actually butter is actually better for you than if you're going to fry olive oil. You can't do that. It ruins the oil. It turns it into garbage. it's not good for your body. So that's what he ate, stuff like that, because
The story I heard is that he used an entire white bread loaf and he would hollow it out.
No.
Okay.
No, because no, he's I don't think the woman who was his cook, see, after his mother died, he hired an African American woman, bought her own house. She's a big Elvis fan, and I don't know if she's still living, but she always wore Elvis on her clothes. And she said he comes here as a ghost. I can see him coming down the hallway, but he loved her, and she made it, and she basically told you how it was made, and that's not how it's. See, there's a lot of lies about Elvis. They think, oh, he's eating too much. That's the reason why he's gaining so much weight. Well, Gladys, his mother, see, the gene, the genetic defect is starting to kick in more and more. She's getting more and more fatigued. And the doctor prescribes Dexedrine for her. Apparently, that was a cure-all. It was the go-to medicine. It says, if you take this, you'll get more energy, you'll get rid of your fatigue, you'll lose weight, menopausal symptoms will go away. So this is an actual prescription she was given, and it was highly addictive, and people don't realize that. Wasn't good. Her liver is going, and this on a liver that's it's already going to go, it's already on its way out, is a very bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me.
That was like an amphetamine almost.
Yeah. So so what happened was she was in so much pain. See, in the South, of course they did make moonshine. See, in the South, during the war, there was no painkiller, so they would give you some liquor before they cut your arm or leg off. And it didn't help that much, but they considered it, the poor people did consider that medicine. And the strongest thing she ended up drinking the last year of her life, she would drink maybe a couple of beers. And that was, for her, that was a lot, because she had never drunk her whole life. She was always a good woman, God-fearing woman. But she said, I'm in so much pain. I'm feeling so awful. And so alcohol was the go-to, but she still didn't drink liquor. And between beer has the lowest amount of alcohol per volume of anything you can drink. And she didn't drink that much of it. But you could see that she started to swell up. Her legs swelled, her stomach swelled, her face swelled, dark circles under her eyes. That beautiful, really, that's very skinny woman, because she was very, very, very poor. She was that skinny. She turned into, let's see, people look at her, they assume that she must have eaten a lot. And she wouldn't let Elvis buy her any fancy clothing. She would just repair the old clothing that she had. Everything was repaired, because you don't know, at any moment you could be poor again. And finally, when she died, Elvis said, "Now, Mama, you're going to wear a beautiful dress." He loved his mother so much. In fact, we'll go get into when he was born, also what he endured as a baby with these genes that were going to end up killing him. So I'll show you her. There's her, and she's next to Elvis. He's in the army. She's not long for this world. See how big she got?
Yeah.
She's skinny as a rail. And she's got dark circles, and she looks melancholy, and she's looking at Elvis, and she's afraid that he might die, and she's afraid, that he obviously is in the army, and she doesn't want him to die, but she knows she's going to die, and she can't help him anymore. So when you look at her, what she used to look like, very, very, very skinny. And Elvis was really skinny too, because they were very malnutritioned. She ended up bloating up about 3 years before she died. That's when she started to decline. Elvis declined exactly 3 years before he died, and he bloated up. His whole body bloated up.
And how would they have compared age-wise when that happened?
She was 46 and he was 42. Comparatively speaking, there is a chart on her family side in this book. Actually, there's a chart on who died when. There's a few that lived 70s or 80s. There's a couple, but most of them died in their 40s. That wasn't. Let's see if I can find that chart. It's great because there's a lot of charts in here.
Well, Elvis' maternal grandmother obviously lived a fairly good duration. I thought you said
no. She. It took her 30 years to die, but she wasn't that old.
Okay.
She wasn't that old. Let me see. I can find. Doll Smith, 59. No, that's for being sick for that long and being bedridden for 30 years. Once in a while, she did get out of bed, and she got pregnant 8 times in bed. That's where he slept. Her husband slept. So when the course for his life was set before he was born. With these genes, he was destined to die young. And he didn't really, obviously, they say Elvis would look up at the sky and ask God, why me? Why did you give this talent to me? Why did you make me this? He was actually afraid of the fame that he had. It was just amazing. But at the same time, he finally could give things away. A friend of his that he gave a car to, and the guy needed to sell it because he could sell the car, buy a cheaper one, and keep the money. And Elvis, I hope you don't feel terrible that I'm going to sell the car that you gave me. And Elvis said, no, if you sell it, you'll make me happy twice. You made me happy when I gave it to you. And when you sell it and you buy another one and then you get some money, I made you happy again. That's it. Elvis woke up every day he wasn't sad every day. He woke every day thinking, what can I do for someone to make them happy? What can I give to someone to make them happy? Before a concert, there's a little girl that was dying and she couldn't go to the concert. So he went to the hospital and he had a garnet cross set in gold. His birthstone is garnet. He was born in January. And he took it off and he gave it to the little girl. He had to give her something special. And there was also an emerald cross. He did that too. People who were, if he saw somebody who was in the audience in a wheelchair, he would literally take his jewelry off and just give it to him. He always wanted to make people happy. The only reason why he wore those clothes, even that Aloha from Hawaii special, they say that cape that he threw out was worth a lot of money. He got rid of it. He just I'm going to make somebody happy. He throws it out to the crowd.
Well, it's astounding to think that these things are still out there. Obviously, treasures of these families.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, and the sad story. Red Fox was a good friend of his, and he was getting really shafted by the television network. His show was #1, Sanford and Son. Elvis gave him a take care of business with a flash gold chain necklace. It was a gold chain. If people don't know what it is, it was a heavy gold chain, and it says TCB on it with a lightning flash. And then for women, he gave them one that said tender loving care. because he was, men and women had their certain roles. Women were to be loved and beautiful and all that stuff, and men were providers. And Elvis, his family was so poor. His only wish was to make money so he can give his family a home, so they don't have they aren't kicked out of another house. I mean, he lived in 12 houses before he got to Lauderdale Courts. But he was the provider. And his father, Vernon, actually took a back seat to Elvis because Elvis became the breadwinner and they were all dependent on him. And it was important to him as he was deteriorating himself with these same issues that his family, in fact, he had more of them than his grandmother or his mother had, because he inherited from his father's side too. I was saying that as he was deteriorating, he couldn't stop working. He knew he had to keep working because he was supporting not only his family, but his extended family and the people who he brought up from where he lived that were poor too. He gave them all jobs. And Elvis, there's a certain type of anemia that he got, what he was born with. And let me see if I can see it on here. It's a big, long word. That he had tonsillitis all the time. And his tonsils should have been taken out, but they were too poor. Remember that health care was impossible. They were too poor to afford any kind of health care. And then when he got big enough, he was afraid to have them taken out because what if he sang different?
His voice,
He really should have, let me see if I can find that. Oh, it says right here, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Elvis's DNA suggests he suffered from a genetic. It says generic heart muscle disease. I think they mean genetic. I think they mean genetic.
Heart disease not otherwise specified. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, heart disease. Oh, I gotcha. But no, it actually was. He had. I'm looking for the name of it in particular. That's why he was constantly. He had severe asthma, and would suffer from huge bouts of asthma, unable to have any medication. He was also born with he got from his father's side. They say, oh, it's because of the drugs he took, which actually just made it worse, or the food that he ate. He was born with basically a defective colon. He was severely constipated his whole life, which can end up killing you. The nerve endings aren't. You're supposed to have nerve endings through it so that things move along. He didn't have that. So sometimes he wouldn't be, as a child, he wouldn't be able to go at all. So he had to, his mother had to go to extenuating what do you call it? Great lengths to do that.
And that doesn't help with weight gain either.
No, it doesn't help. It's basically a toxin buildup. So that is he could have died from tonsillitis. He had so many that his tonsils had holes in them. And he still had tonsillitis up to the day he died. He was still getting tonsillitis, severe forms of tonsillitis. So it wasn't because he had drugs in his system that he was constipated. And it wasn't because of how he ate either. That basically was killing him. He also had the liver disease, where his they say if you sat down with him, even though he could sing on stage, he could barely breathe. You'd be sitting trying to talk to him, and he had trouble breathing. That's because the lungs were defective, and of course the heart was defective. And Elvis, the night he died, before he died, he was playing racquetball with a friend, Larry Geller. He was the one who bought Elvis, who would go out to the bookstores and get all these books on God, different religions. And he got him 10 books that night. And Elvis read 10,000 books, mostly of he wanted to know how other people came to God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they asked him, Elvis, sometimes you wear the Hebrew letter Hey, or you wear the Star of David, or you wear a cross, or you wear an ankh. Are you confused on what religion you are? And Elvis would say, no, I just don't want to miss out on heaven on a technicality. So he wanted to know how other people came to God. And there was a book on the Shroud of Turin called The Scientific Search for the Face of God. And Larry Geller said, look, I'll give you the books tomorrow. Come on, Elvis, you got to go to bed. You can't, because he would sleep during the daytime. You don't have any time to read this. And he said, no, I have to have that book. And so he told Ginger, the last words he said was to his girlfriend, Ginger Alden, that I'm going to go into the bathroom and read. And that's the book he was found with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking there's so many things that were physically wrong with him. He had gone to the dentist that night because he had a lot of stage performances all booked up, and the Ginger Alden brought him some codeine for the pain because it was tooth work. But Elvis had diseases and disorders we have 11 bodily symptoms, and he had diseases and disorders in 9 of them. Elvis, it's like, what could we have done to save him? Well, his doctor did say, Elvis, why don't you go to Johns Hopkins and have a full workup, and maybe they can figure out what's wrong with you and how to treat you better. And he didn't want to do that. He was like afraid to do that. Even doctors offered to go in there and transplant the colon, and they said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to be responsible for killing Elvis. Well, if you did that, maybe you would have lived a little bit longer. He actually did need that done because it was defective from birth.
That sounds like advanced surgery even by 2020 standards.
Yeah, but they could do it back then. They could do it, yeah. Of course, his first brother that was born, Jesse Garin, was stillborn. And they said that, he talked to his dead twin his whole life, or he said, even the people around said, he wanted to die when his mother died at the same age and everything, but he didn't die at the same age. And he was romanticizing it. That's also a total lie. So in one of the movies that one of the first movies they made about Elvis, he was in The Big Lebowski.
Jeff Daniel.
No. Wait a minute. Is he the one that's married to, or was married to, Goldie Hawn? Who's married to Goldie Hawn? Famous guy.
That's Jeff Daniels.
Not Jeff Daniels. I think his name is Russell.
Jeff Bridges, I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Jeff Bridges is married to Goldie Hawn.
Well, okay, I'll look that up.
Oh, the one who's married to Goldie Hawn.
Kurt Russell.
That's it, Russell. When I said Russell, last name Russell. And in that movie, they have him talking to his shadow. So like he's talking to his twin, and he never did that. He didn't show that kind of insanity. But he started to get delusional because toxins were filling up his body. And so he was getting brain fog just like his mother was getting before she died. So Elvis had more things wrong with him and than even his mother had. But you could see the look at the two of them. It wasn't fat. It wasn't a poor diet. Though he liked simple country food. No matter, he was more comfortable around poor country people than he was around fancy city folk. Cityfied. Whatchamacallit. Tennessee Ernie Ford appeared on I Love Lucy, and he was one of her cousins, and he said a wild painted up city woman. His mother was warning him about the wild painted up city women, not to get involved with one. So Lucy dresses up as a wild painted up city woman, and he goes, "Why aren't you going?" She says, "I like it."
It reminds me of all those Andy Griffith Show episodes where Andy Griffith can't get some girl in her big city ways, but the big city is like Siler City.
Yeah. Oh, and nothing Elvis got. The reason why he wore these sunglasses starting in his 30s, because he started getting glaucoma in both eyes. Usually people get glaucoma in one eye. Elvis got glaucoma in both eyes. And he would get severe migraines. And he would still have to be on stage with the lights glaring down on him. And he would literally have to pretend he didn't have a migraine. He literally had to pretend he wasn't in pain. And when he started to forget the worst songs, it wasn't drugs. It was his body was filling up with these toxins because he had that genetic defect. And also, when Elvis took, was it 10 or 11 pills total? And elderly people take between 8 and 10 pills. Elvis took the pills. None of the pills that he took were escapism pills.
Mm-hmm.
Like people will be very quick to put Elvis down. Oh, he died of drugs. But they glorify certain musicians because drugs make them more creative. You know, the Beatles, they were more creative. And those other 60s people were more creative. It was like, oh, wow. It was like a badge of honor. Oh, yeah, you take drugs and yeah, you write all this fantastic stuff. Elvis didn't take any drugs for escapism. He didn't take it to go somewhere. He took it to function. He took it to get rid of the pain, whatever it was that was ailing him. So he could function, so he could continue to be Elvis Presley. Because the more...
By the way, I'm sorry. Adrian, is Adrian backstage?
Oh, Adrian want to come back? He left. Did you? Oh.
Okay, sorry.
You were backstage. You took off. I thought you wanted to be like...
No,
like the women in the temple in Shul, during Jesus's time, they weren't allowed. They could only stay behind the screen, and the men were allowed into the temple because the women didn't know how to read either. I thought you wanted to. You were doing your imitation of a Jewish woman in Bronze Age Palestine. Was that your Bronze Age Palestine?
Bronze Age Palestine, good times.
Semitic woman outside of the gates of the temple.
Yeah, no, my connection keeps dropping. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. So it's good to have you back again.
Yeah.
So yeah, none of these pills were for escapism. He didn't overtake his drugs. Sometimes because he moved around a lot, he would need to go to other doctors to get other pills, and those doctors kind of weren't sure exactly what to give him. But they would not see. Dr. Nick, his regular doctor, would say, Elvis, you have to take this pill so many hours before performance because it's going to make you a little lightheaded or a little tired, or it might have an effect of a drug. So you take them, and you would tell them when to take them, and then it's going to wear away, and then the drug that he was taking the drug for a reason, and but it has that side effect of making you loopy. And so other doctors didn't know when to administer these drugs, so Elvis wouldn't be loopy. But there's an interesting thing, and I kind of believe it because I don't know, people back then, Elvis went to church every day of the week. He would go to revival meetings every night for 2 or 3 hours a night. And he would be at church or these revival meetings whether his parents showed up or not, because he would sing for hours every single night to God. That's why after his performances, he would sing for hours. Everybody had to sing gospel for hours. And Muhammad Ali and Sammy Davis Jr. were waiting in the hallway, and they had to wait for him. You know, these big people, big celebrities like that, they had to listen to gospel music. But it was the only thing that brought him peace. You know, he wanted to be a gospel singer, but Tom Parker wanted to keep getting half of his income, and didn't want him to be a gospel singer because he wouldn't make as much money. And Elvis wanted to he actually was given the role of, is it in the West Side Story? Is it Michael? Is he the one that gets married to Maria or falls in love with Maria? He's the one who gets shot. He was actually given that role, but Tom Parker didn't want him to take any roles that were serious acting because he wouldn't make as much money, because Tom Parker worked him to basically, everybody knew Elvis was going to die. Tom Parker made him record hundreds and hundreds of songs that he would just put in a locked file cabinet. And he goes, I got him right here. When he dies, I'm going to be releasing him. He even told people what he was going to do. And he even had Lisa Marie, just, I think it was last year, found out that Tom Parker still had rights on Elvis's music because he was still making money on Elvis's music. And she was pretty upset about that. But the day that Elvis was born, or the night that Elvis was born, the family were outside, women were outside, and they said, this is really weird. There was this blue star above the shack that he was being born in. And they just, they have no explanation for it, but they thought that was it. Apparently several people saw it. They're not making it up or lying. Nobody was drinking moonshine because these women were actually helping with the birth. So I doubt they were drinking moonshine. These weren't the kind of women, these are the kind of women who went to church all the time. And Elvis went more than anybody to church. He couldn't get them out of church, But they saw this blue, like a blue star. And there is a Hopi prophecy of some kind of a Hopi god that's supposed to, that a blue star would be seen. And of course, he is the grandson of a Cherokee princess. Mourning White Dove was her name. And you could see those two, Doll and her husband Robert, who are very attractive people. You could see that they're dark skinned. You could see the Native American in them a lot. So of course, his heart, when they cut him open, they thought his heart was really enlarged. But the doctor that was performing the autopsy said if anybody thinks that this man died of drugs, they don't know anything about genetics and genetic diseases that are passed. He could see just opening them up and seeing where all these abnormalities and diseases and disorders were in his body. And that has nothing to do with drugs, because there's a lot of big stars out there that have taken drugs their whole lives. They don't die from it, or they have to drink heavy liquor every day of their life before they start getting cirrhosis of the liver. Actually, that actually takes a long time, because the liver is very give me the word, Adrian. The liver is
Resilient.
Resilient. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Brazilian. The liver is Brazilian. Liver is Brazilian. Is resilient.
Resilient.
So it's
Robust. Regenerative.
Regenerate itself. Yeah, that's right. And so it's terrible. See, when people make when they hear things and then they make quick assumptions. Oh, liver, she must be the mother must be Elvis must be an alcoholic. Elvis must have taken a lot of drugs. When you hear liver hepatitis, whatever, you automatically people make these assumptions. And there's this channel, which I will not name the channel. The woman's got a really weird voice. I don't like her. She says what all these family members have in common, because Lisa Marie was into drugs and drinking, and it was, well, that comes from her grandmother and her father. I was like, whoa, you don't know. And she's what I'm doing is I'm trying to tell you about, educate you about it. Elvis. Except it seems like what she says most of the time really isn't complimentary to Elvis. And it's not even true. It's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. And Lisa Marie, I would say, well, L. Ron Hubbard tried to get Elvis. Because he was the biggest star. So he gave him his book, and Elvis said, it sounds real good, but God isn't at the bottom of this. There's no God here. But they got Priscilla, and Priscilla, so Elvis dies. So Scientology got their money from Elvis, but after he died. And Lisa Marie was in Scientology for most of her life. I read where she recently left. I hope to God she did. Her poor son, Benjamin Keogh, died last year of a gunshot to his head. And of course, remember last year, children were committing suicide on Zoom calls. The overdose rate was 90,000 people died of overdoses last year. And the suicide is skyrocketing. People are really depressed. I can imagine if you are the grandson of Elvis and boss with all these riots, and that you're evil, you're born evil if you have white skin. And it might have really got to him. I mean, my guess is not that alcohol and drugs ran in the family, because there was some suicides in Elvis's family. There were a couple suicides. Poor people were so poor. But I personally, I think that can you imagine? Because they did riot outside of Graceland several years ago. And I said, on social media, I said, oh, do they even know that he sang in the ghetto? But, they don't even care about in the ghetto, because it's not, it has to be a certain person killing you, not, if it's the same color as you, nobody cares. And, which is really sad, because I think Well, it's like something you can't say anymore, like, because I care about all their lives. I care about them all. And so did Elvis. And interesting, I had just read this recently. I think it probably came out of this book. They offered the song "In the Ghetto" to Sammy Davis Jr., probably one of the most talented people who's ever lived. He's like 4 years old. He's tap dancing on screen. And his family were vaudevillians, so he was taught from the day he was born. He had, and singing, he's a little 5 years old singing Rascal You. He sings this song and then takes a bite of a sandwich after. He's adorable. He's half Cuban, but he told people he was half Puerto Rican because of Cuba and communism. But there are black Cubans. It's like he's not half white, he's black Cubans. Well, he was a good friend of Elvis's, and so was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali said that he was.
Felina, you're getting a little microphone noise if it's dragging around or something.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you for telling me. How long has that been going on?
It just got a little worse. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it got worse.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me the second that happens. Okay.
Well, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I just wanted you to know.
Yeah.
I don't care. Too bad, not at all. We want not at all. So because I can move it so that doesn't happen. So tell me, and so it can be not at all. Well, he said he was the sweetest, kindest, most generous person that he's ever met in his whole life, and that's Muhammad Ali. And and Sammy Davis Jr. and was a good friend of his, and James Brown. You couldn't get him to leave the funeral. He wouldn't leave Elvis's side. He stayed there all day. It was really sad. Well, they said, why don't you sing in the, obviously, because they're thinking Sammy Davis Jr., well, you're black, so sing in the ghetto, you know. And no one knew he said to them, he goes, I don't have this life experience, but you know who does? Elvis Presley. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? That is really something. People really don't get to the degree of poverty that he knew and his family knew. And no Presley ever owned a plantation. That is a story that the very big woman who's got the most money in the world as a woman, I won't say her name, that is not true. These people were dirt poor in a way, poor in the same way that former slaves were, the same way that African Americans were in the Jim Crow South. These people were, and there was no end in sight. It was just working hours on end, working none of us would, if we had to do that, we would just quit. Oh, I can't do that. You know, I mean, there's just no way. People, they would not do it. You mean any person today would work like that, 12 to 16 hours a day, and then walk 7 miles to get home? Nobody would do that today, but you had to do it because you had a wife and you had children. You did it to support your family. And so you can see why Elvis basically worked himself to death. Now, if Tom Parker only took 10%, and that's what a manager should only take 10%. Elvis wouldn't have had to work so hard. He could have had some rest, and he made a live longer. And he had the money. It was his money that he was giving away.
But he didn't have to give it all away.
Well, he kept giving. He was supporting the whole family. He was supporting
family,
the people who worked for him and their families, everybody. But didn't
anyone say something where like Tom Parker purposefully did that so Elvis wouldn't have rest? Or something like that?
Yeah, well, he knew he was dying. He knew that was, I suppose Elvis started looking like his mother. And his mother started looking like that 3 years before she died, and he started looking the same way 3 years before he died.
Wow.
So it's not fat, it's not drugs. Though you would understand why he would need painkiller. Oh, he had arthritis.
Yeah.
What's that?
Inflammation of the tissues.
Yeah, and he had arthritis all over his body, glaucoma in both eyes.
Wow.
Heart failure, lung failure, lung disorders, liver disorders, severe asthma. It's like I've got like about 8 of those things he has. Thinking about it myself and stuff, I got, oh my God, I'm wondering, it would have to be my father's side. What?
What about the lip curl? Was that part of some sort of disease?
Why would the lip curl be a disease?
I thought maybe you said something at some point.
No, he jokes about it, but I don't think he even knows that he's doing it. He just does it, and it's kind of like sometimes you do stuff and you don't know. That's what comedians are there for. All of a sudden, a comedian starts to imitate somebody, and that person never even knew that they were doing that or talking like that. And then the comedians and everybody's laughing. It's like, oh, gee whiz, you never knew you were doing it. But he would joke about that. He would definitely joke about that. See if there's anything that I've left out. But he was really at the end. He had a full schedule, and he was pushing himself at the end. He kept pushing himself to do the concerts, not to take time off, because he knew that he had to make the money because he was the provider. And that was really the only reason why he should have said, Tom Parker, look, seriously, good, I'll take the big money gigs. That means I could make more money and I don't have to work as hard. But he thinks, oh yeah, Parker gives me the big money gigs. If I get them, I can give more away. But it never dawns on him he's taking too much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nobody takes that much. So
reminds me of that song "The Cigar" by Pink Floyd. They had a lot of rip-off agents. A lot of agents were ripping them off. So they wrote a song about it.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah.
Come on here, dear boy, have a cigar. You're gonna go far. You're never gonna die. You're gonna make it if you try. They're gonna love you. Anyway, it's about agents like that.
Yeah. There were a lot of bands that were really destroyed. Well, lives destroyed by predatory management. Well, I'm looking at like Crimson and Clover, where they did Crystal Blue Persuasion, had their lives ruined by a predatory management. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like Peace. See, Peace wrote Jeff Bridges. Oh, Kurt Russell. Did he really like? Yeah, he really did like fried peanut butter and bananas. Though Ginger Alden said that she never saw him eat one, but she was only with him at the very end, and she goes, I didn't live with him. I wasn't that kind of a girl. Oh, here's this is a lie that I must dispel. Apparently there must be some writer, some author that has put together a book of lies, because time passes and people forget, and he's not here to defend himself. And a lot of men around him aren't even here to say anything. But they're going on about how Elvis had 14-year-old girlfriends, a bunch of girls that were 14 coming up to Graceland. And
your mic.
It was even more than that. He dated and he had with these girls, and one of them, the thing broke. I mean, it's just the lengths that this person is going to is insane. First of all, only when Gladys was alive, because Gladys said to him, because she wanted to find him a good girl, these older girls all are experienced. You have to find one at about 14, or you got to find them young while they're still virgins, and then marry them, make sure you get them. And you say, there's a lot of arranged marriages down in the South. And then you'll marry them by the time you marry them, they'll still be a virgin. And she would just bring them up. And Maury Povich, he thought he had this big exclusive about Elvis and bringing in 14-year-old girls to up to Graceland. And these women come on and they just look like regular housewives. All of them pretty much overweight a little bit, but not obesely overweight.
Fluffy.
And they asked him, okay, what did Elvis do? Did he kiss you? No, he didn't kiss us. We just watched television. His mother was there. You watched television and we ate food. She made food for us. It's still laughing in their heads. I'm going, no, Elvis was like, we like to look at the TV, talk about what's on TV, eat. That's all he wanted to do was pretty much eat food and watch television or read the Bible with you. And it's like he was our age. And that's the way he was. And that's the way he was with, and some women didn't like it. Like one woman, I don't remember her name. Elvis invited her somehow. She was invited to sit on the couch with Elvis to watch the TV and eat. That's all Elvis wanted to do was watch TV and eat. And
by the way, can you imagine?
Isn't that like Netflix and
14 and saying Elvis wants to sit with you on a couch and watch TV?
No, they would like sit on the floor and just watch TV. No, they would just sit on the floor and watch. And the mother was there at all times. The mother was there at all times. And besides, in the South, Jerry Lee Lewis married his first cousin. She was 13. Loretta Lynn, Coal Miner's daughter, got married at 14. They got married at 12. These are the ages that these girls in the Deep South did get married. But
it's a whole different story. Yeah.
No, but Elvis wasn't interested in them in this way. He just it was like having friends over. And once the mother died, there were no more 14-year-old girls because it was just the mother's thing. She just was looking for a virgin. And to him, it was very important. If a girl wanted to say a virgin, he didn't want to destroy who she was. He wanted her to stay that beautiful. To him, it was so beautiful and so important that he wouldn't do that. That's just the way he was.
Go
ahead.
He's not a slut maker.
No, he's not a slut maker. No, and there was also a girl, I forget her name. She became a nun, and then now she's a mother in a convent, and she credits Elvis to pointing her in that direction.
She was the girl in Blue Hawaii or something.
And so they would talk. Basically, they would talk about God, and he encouraged her to do what she felt called to do, and she became closer to God because of Elvis. As well, the stories that are told by all his leading ladies, every single one, Elvis was a different person. Oh, Elvis was my friend. Oh, Elvis was my spiritual mentor. I think Anne Margaret was pretty much the only one he fell in love with, but unfortunately, and all they say, oh, he slept with, no, he didn't sleep with Lisa Marie. He met Priscilla. He met Priscilla when he was in Germany, and she was the daughter of a captain, and his mother just died, and she was 14, and she was young and pretty, and reminded him of his mother, and said, this is the kind of girl my mother would like. Okay, well, maybe this is the whatchamacallit, the girl that's going to stay, if she wants to be with me, and she'll be a virgin till we get married. Well, he was in the army for 2 years. He met her in the army, trying to figure out how old she was. I think when she came back, she must have lost a few years in school, because 14, you add 2 onto that, you get 16. And then he didn't have her coming up. They said she moved to Graceland. He asked the parents if it was okay if she moved to Graceland. Well, he didn't have her move to Graceland until 3 years later, after he got out of the army. So that's 5 years. That's a 19-year-old girl. That's a girl that's no longer 14 and underage. And I'm going, wait a second. People keep saying, oh, Priscilla's 14 and and Elvis said he did not want, he wanted to keep her nice for their wedding day. And he promised the father that he would marry her. And Elvis kept his word. In the meantime, he fell in love with Anne Margaret. They both came from the South. They loved God. They were country folk. And he really fell in love with her. And of course, it was after, any woman after the mother died, any woman that you saw at Elvis dated was not a teenage girl anymore. That was the mother thing. And people just they hear this and they go, because they think they have no idea. They have no idea how the South worked. And they have no idea that he didn't marry Priscilla until she was 21 years old. So she moves up there and goes to high school. She's 19. She must have lost a couple of years when she was in Germany. But she was 19 years old. Okay, that's an adult. And he doesn't marry her till she's 21. And he doesn't touch her until the wedding night. She got pregnant basically on the honeymoon. 9 months later, Lisa Marie was born. That's the first time he touched her. And he believed that when a woman has a child, she becomes holy. And as he kind of saw, his mother was holy. The Blessed Mother who had Jesus was holy. He kind of saw motherhood as a woman is holy. And it's like, here's a completely different way rock and roll stars see women. Usually don't see them that way. And this is a very, it's like, that's kind of interesting, and kind of different. And it was harder for him to actually have sex with her because he felt that she was holy. And there's this other interesting thing. Well, this girl on the she was of age, obviously, and she sat down on the couch. She wanted Elvis to make out with her or do something with her. And he was just interested. He was eating, and he was just interested in watching television. He loved watching television. And she threw a glass of something at him, and he threw her out because she was insulted that he wasn't making a move on her. It's like, oh, he's not rock and roll lech trying to have sex with you. He just watching TV with you. It's like, there's got to be something wrong with Elvis. you got to make something wrong with Elvis. When he respected women, he didn't do that. He just didn't do that. And come to think of it, he's also, what they said that they couldn't understand. See, Elvis had women around, or women, they would, as long as she was clean and pretty and her toes were clean, the most he would do with a woman was suck her toes. And they said that it was because maybe he didn't want to have sex because he was a germaphobe. But that can't be, because you see him on stage kissing all these women. It's like, no. And you live in the South. I mean, it's like, it's not. They said that Elvis, people actually made clothes out of burlap sacks. And Elvis was in like the burlap sack. But Elvis was always clean and neat. He always looked good and smelled good. And once he was sitting on sitting on the when they had the shack, he got an ice cream cone, which is something that's like a poor kid like that never gets. And there's an African American kid who walked by and said, "Gee, I'd wish I had an ice cream cone." And Elvis said, "Hey, why don't you share this with me? You eat this with me." They're still calling him racist. I mean, and that's
what color was the ice cream?
Not germs. And the thing, there's two things. Peter Gorelnik said that it could be two things. Of course, he could be a germaphobe, but I've given you evidence that he couldn't be. That wasn't it. The second thing, he was really religious. He followed the Bible. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. He didn't whatever. And he also had a photographic memory. He all the book. He read over 10,000 books, and he remembered everything in those books. But he tried to live his life as close to what Jesus taught as possible. And the most he ever did was suck a woman's toes, which if you're a germaphobe, I wouldn't even suck toe. I wouldn't suck toes. I'm a germaphobe. I'm telling you, no way. It's like, so I think he was really, first, really religious. And there's another factor here. And it's the theme of the night. Elvis wasn't well. Elvis wasn't well. He had to perform on stage. All his energy went to his performances and recording. It was always joking around. The guy was always joking around. He never said, "Oh, I'm not feeling good," or never wanted to bring anybody down. He always was joking and lifting everybody up. I think physically he probably couldn't do. I mean, it was just a bridge too far. Religious and a bridge too far. But he really respected women, because even if you're not well, there's things that a woman can do to a man that he could just lay there. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? And he didn't do that either. So that in fact might be kind of healing. You know what I mean? Adrian is totally out of the.
I missed the last 45 seconds.
Well, I was saying that because the things, it doesn't make sense. The germaphobe.
No, doesn't seem.
That doesn't make sense.
Information.
He was extremely religious, but he kissed. Sometimes he went back and kissed the same girl. Like he's kissing all. And then he'd go around kissing all the girls from the stage, and then he went back and kissed the same girl twice because she was really pretty. But
we're getting a little more mic noise, by the way. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me. You're my direct. Who does that? Who does that in the sound booth?
Yeah, sound engineer.
Sound engineer. Okay, you're the sound engineer. But I could think that it could be that he wasn't well and he wanted to put all his energy into his performances because he had to was supporting all these people. But I was saying to Rob here, there are things that a woman can do to a man that he doesn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't take any exertion on his part. You know what I mean, Adrian?
Well, there's some degree of performance.
I like to relax sometimes. It's nice.
There's some degree of performance still, but yeah, maybe he's like a boxer who doesn't want to expend his energies.
Well, yeah, there's also sexual transmutation, right? So this is also, I don't know if it's biblical. I'm not as versed in all the minutiae of the scripture, but back in that time period, it was not uncommon knowledge to transmute your sexual energy towards successful and meaningful objectives.
Well, that's not too hard to understand.
Yeah, no. Maybe that's probably what he did. I mean, he used his energy for that. But I'm saying that, if he wants to lie back, and the girl is willing to work, that's all I'm saying.
And if he's read all those books, he knows about all the tantric and Taoist techniques.
That's true. That's true.
Right? The reverse breathing. the Taoist breathing and the semen retention would go a long way, so to speak.
Wow, I never
You're
thought
getting his act
we'd
up.
hear the words semen retention in a show about Elvis.
Well, what else was he doing, right? If he's not having sex and he's not masturbating, he's
I-
retaining semen. And
I would think that would be exhausting for him. I mean, with his ailments. I'm talking about with his ailments. But I'm saying,
Well, if you're
women,
constipated-
just lie back.
He's-
I'll do the work.
he's
you know what I mean?
constipated and he's got to sing.
Constipation
You know,
is another thing. There's
that's
a there's a lot of
It's
there's
not
a
not
lot
tonight.
of there's a lot of stuff we're unpacking. If everybody use the word unpacking, and it's just like exponentially, expound, agency. All these words that are like all of a sudden people just, oh, I know what that word means. I've never heard it before. Because I know what it means, I'm going to use it a lot too. And then everybody is using it. All the news anchors, everybody's using, oh, it's a big word we just learned.
Narrative.
Narrative, yes.
Narrative. What was the word that you used, Adrian?
Which one? Which
Semen
was
You
about
used something.
semen retention?
No. It was one of those words that a smart word. It's one of those smart words.
I'm not smart anymore. I wouldn't have said it. But
You said something smart.
It's the glasses. It's the glasses.
The glasses.
Man.
It's voodoo. It's magical spell from the glasses.
It's the falling down glasses.
I'm gonna reduce. Here's how I reduce my vocabulary by 3,000 words.
Yes.
I can't believe this. I just bought this bra. Wait, I had no idea. I had no idea that this bra would do this. You know what I'm saying?
We have
This is
officially
just
gone off the
wrong.
rails. We have officially gone off the
Is
rails.
it a push
This
yourself bra?
is just wrong.
Elvis wouldn't know.
There you go. Now it is PG.
Elvis would.
Okay. Hey, it looks good. It looks good. That's what I say.
You could never go to. You could never go to Graceland wearing that. They would. Have you as a
I bought
defense.
this.
Thank
So
you.
this dress. Remember, I was wearing the one that was green the other day. I figure if I put one of these, it's a sports bra, which is not a lacy open thing. It kind of covers everything. Like I didn't know. So it's like I put it on right before the show. And I'm going, oh, put that on, yeah, because that's gonna cover you up a bit. Look, I got two. I got pins here.
You're covered.
Covering.
It's just a push.
He's got like you got some crochet going on down there, and no, so I'm covered.
I will explain this to you very simply. Felina wore the push-up bra when she still thought that David would be here with us.
No, that dress comes with a built-in bra. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a onesie.
Yeah, it comes with it. It comes because I never bought bras before, and now I'm buying bras. You know, and I didn't know because I just put it on before the show. But you know what? I think I'm bloated. I think that's
it's all
what
got to
it
go
is.
somewhere.
I think I've got some water retention going on. Oh, is that your cleavage?
I'm trying to-
Oh,
look at these legs.
Oh my god!
Where are the-
Yeah. Hot taking a falling down glasses.
Hot take. That hot take really bugs me. That's real. That really irritates me.
What is hot take?
Oh, it's like somebody's. It's like a tweet. It's like your political opinion in a tweet.
This is so
Oh.
hot. I got the air conditioner on. Hey, you know, putting my hair there is very hot. I mean, it makes me
You're very insulated.
physically hot, not that kind of hot. You know. Oh no!
Thanks, Dylan.
There. Hey, you know what?
What do I know?
Speaking of Willy Wonka,
Like, can you take the microphone handle, just put it in your cleavage? Maybe that will be better for reducing the noise.
you're joking. Well, actually this thing.
Yeah, that's
See
good.
this? Do you ever think, remember when in Willy Wonka when
I'm
see,
listening.
I didn't know that Ronald Dahl, I didn't know that he didn't like Gene Wilder. And he was pissed because they should have hired, he wanted Spike Jones to do the role. Or Spike Mulligan. Nobody knows who Spike Mulligan is.
I know who Spike Mulligan is.
You know Spike Mulligan?
Yeah, he was a funny guy. I forget that he was with that other guy. Who was with? He did the show. He did a show with the.
Who was the guy with that other guy?
Peter Sellers.
Oh, I
Peter
know
Sellers.
exactly what you're talking about.
He did a show with Peter Sellers, didn't he?
Spike Mulligan. Wait. Spike Mulligan?
Yeah.
Well, that's who Ronald Dahl wanted to do Willy Wonka, and he was pissed.
I think
And
Gene Wilder nailed it.
what was that?
I think Gene Wilder nailed it.
Yeah, I think. Well, the reason why they tried Gene Wilder is because he just done the producers, and so he was like hot at the time. But he was more than, just a really good actor that's famous at the time. For some reason I thought when he kicks Augustus Gloop in the chocolate river,
Where'd you go, buddy?
it was kind of like Augustus Gloop, the pride of Dusselheim, an example for the whole world. It was kind of like because Gene Wilder is Jewish.
What?
It was kind of like, because we're still talking, the book was probably written in the 60s, but we're still talking, it's not too far away from World War II. It was maybe kind of a way to get back at, what happened in Germany. Kicking Augustus Gloop, because he's the only one he actually kicks. He actually physically does something to. I mean, Veruca Salt, she gets on the educated egg dictator.
She was a bad egg.
She was a bad egg. And then Violet Beauregard, she went and she chewed that, by gum, it's gum. Wrong.
Augustus needed a push.
Yeah, she took the gum. He
like TV.
He pushed. Oh, stop! Don't come back. And he pushes him in.
It's my favorite line.
Yeah, I was using that gift. Yeah,
don't come back.
No, stop.
I thought, is that written in the book Willy Wonka? Is that action written, or did Gene Wilder, what do you call it, improv, like he did with the role?
I was in the. I don't even know if I was 11 yet when I read that book.
I think it's like, strike that, reverse it. It was
strike that
Wilderism. Yeah.
You got so much.
And the somersault. You said that the somersault was...
The somersault was improv. Yeah, he did that. Because you would never know what he was going to do next. But that was his improv. Yeah. And so I wonder if that pushing Augustus Gloop into the chocolate river was kind of like, because World War II wasn't that far away at that point.
No, people still remember
when that thing was made.
Yeah, Dylan says the riverboat scene scared the daylights out of me when I was a kid. What I think is that all the acid casualties.
Decapitation.
What's that?
Go ahead, Rob. There's a chicken decapitation and
yes. They didn't tell anybody. They didn't tell anybody that those movies were going to go on in the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody who was shocked in that boat, they weren't acting. And then the snake going across the woman's or the guy's face, that wasn't acting. That was just, and then he screams at the top of his lungs, and they thought he lost his mind. They had no idea. They did not expect any of that to occur. They didn't expect him to scream. They didn't, the decapitated chicken, the snake, all that stuff. That was just getting them, that was not acting. So I kind of wonder, was that kick kind of like, on behalf of all of Jews everywhere, Augustus Gloop, the pride of Dusselheim, an example for the whole world. I thought of that a long time ago. I don't know. But of course, he changed the ending too. The ending was supposed to be, I'm giving you the chocolate factory. He's supposed to say, guess what, Charlie? You're getting the chocolate factory. And he jumps up and goes, yippee, yippee, yippee. But he goes, how did you like what you saw, Charlie? Oh, I thought it was wonderful. Guy lives on cabbage water. What happens to the cabbage is what I want to know. And he goes, I'm glad you are, because I'm giving it to you. Remember what happened to the little boy that gets everything he wants? Yep. What? Well, he lives happily ever after. And then he hugs him. All of a sudden, you think this guy is Satan, and all of a sudden, then he hugs him. He does a good deed. And he's looking, when he gave him back the everlasting gobstopper, he said, such a good deed in a weary world. And he goes, so he was looking for goodness. And at the end, you find out that he's not, that you think that, oh God, is this guy Satan? Is that who he's representing? No, he is a good guy who's actually looking for a good child. And he was warm and wonderful. Of course, the Oompa Loompas were supposed to be pygmies from Africa, but they changed it to orange because that would be not good.
Because in
but you blame Roald Dahl for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a sequel to Willy Wonka, and it's called Snowpiercer. Because things.
Well, you're going cyberpunk on us. You're making a cultural reference. We can't.
Well, Snowpiercer is about a train.
I can't get rid of these boobs.
And this train requires very small people to fix and operate some of the intricate machinery. But they run out of small people. They run out of Oompa Loompas. The movie doesn't say.
The Oompa Loompas were in that too?
Well, they were gone by the time the movie. In the setting of the movie, the Oompa Loompas were all died off. And they had to conscript children from the other cars in this ongoing train to replace the Oompa Loompas. So there was a forced child labor and conscription. Yeah.
Black Elvis is here. Hello there, Black Elvis.
Hello, Black Elvis.
Do you want to come on, Black Elvis?
Come on down.
Yeah, I mean, copy the clip. Okay. I'll give you here's the link. Control V. There you go, Black Elvis. If you want to come on the stream and say something about Elvis, or if you want to, you can plug your channel.
Yeah, let's actually talk about the music, because I think we haven't been talking about the music that much.
True.
So there's click onto that link there, Black Elvis, and you can come right on. You can plug your channel. And people should be listening to Elvis music. See, if I put Elvis music on, they'll just take the stream down. They'll stop it. But he does reaction videos, especially Elvis. So come on down.
Give me a sec.
Oh, he said, good. We get to meet Black Elvis. Hey. And you can tell us all about your channel, like everything that you're doing and what instead of listening to me and Elvis, talk about Elvis.
And
somebody else's perspective on Elvis.
and the whole of death, yes. But my friend David Shelton, I sort of advertised him being here. He was very tired from work.
He was very tired. Oh, but he got the glasses as a consolation prize.
Yes. By the way, your glasses look much better than mine. The women's version looks.
The women's version, yeah. This is it's
Some quality bling there.
cute. They're cute, aren't they?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
they just look better on you. Oh well, no. Well, those are yeah.
Yeah. What else looks better on me than on you? Where are my lights? Oh, there's my lights. Okay. I hate it when it does that. I just want it. I just stay, for crying out loud. Can everybody see Elvis here?
I
Yep.
see Elvis.
This is Elvis right there. Hey, look. I left it in the cellophane. See the sticker?
Yes.
And there's a price tag on the back.
Is that 10,000 Elvis fans can't be wrong?
I don't know. It's
No.
it's like you turn it and you see different pictures. And
It's
since
a
he's
lens
using
picture.
the gold of May, that's why I've got gold of May in back here. There's a theme to tonight, people. That's why you got the gold glasses. Gold is the theme. Please.
People really underestimate the degree of thought that goes into these live streams.
Oh, I know. And then with the Mothman, remember I made the Mothman?
Yes.
Ooh, I look kind of like Janis Joplin now.
You look better than
Busted
that.
flat in Baton Rouge, waiting for a train. The feeling is as faded as my jeans. Bobby thumbed a diesel down just before it rained. Took us all the way to New Orleans. And then something in my dirty red bandana. He sang it soft while Bobby sang the blues. I sang it soft. Windshield wipers slapping in time, holding Bobby's hand in mine. He sang every song that driver knew. Feeling's freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
By the way,
And nothing is all that Bobby left me. Feeling good was easy, Lord, when Bobby sang the blues. Feeling good was good enough for me. Good enough for me and Bobby McGee. So that was written by Chris Christopherson, and Bobby McGee is actually a woman. But you can transfer it to a man. Can you believe it? Bobby can be a man's name and a woman's. How about that? I know, blows your mind. Because there's
Bobby.
Robin, and there's Robina, and there's Roberta. There you go. And we got Rob right here.
And there's Adrienne.
Yeah,
There
you
is.
can't do. Oh, that's right. Adrienne can be female too.
It's a feminized form, but it was originally male.
Okay. But
Well,
by the way,
the Adriatic Sea. The Adriatic Sea is probably was male.
Well,
male
yeah,
god at one
it
time,
was-
right?
It was the namesake came from it's the same root. Latin
Okay.
means the dark one of the sea or something like that.
Oh, is that what it means? Oh, look. Hey, you guys didn't see. Oh, beautiful first species, guys. Right,
There it is.
yes. We're saying about like the target.
It's going away soon.
Huh.
It's going away soon. Red, white, and blue.
I think we should.
I got it next to Elvis because Elvis loved. Because his great grandfather, a great grandfather fought in the Revolutionary War.
Dylan.
That was before he became a Melungian.
Dylan says, Felina, do you know about Elvis's supposed Jewish heritage? I never knew if that was legit or not.
Talbot, the name, his grandmother. Well, technically, well, the mother. They say his mother was very proud of her Jewish roots, and he put a Star of David on her original gravestone. Then the father, when this gravestone moved to Graceland, he took that off and just put a cross on there. It was a cross and a serve dated. Well, there was and some guy he wrote this book and he investigated those names, and the name, it's like Talbert or something like that. He said that all the names on the father's side and the mother's are classic Melungian names, which are people who lived in the mountains because they were mixed race, and so they basically intermarried a lot. They had dark skin, blue eyes. Abraham Lincoln was a Melungian. They say Tom Hanks has Melungian roots too. And Elvis is actually related to Abraham Lincoln, believe it or not. But you see, in the South, it's Elvis. When Elvis lived at Lauderdale Courts, there was a rabbi that lived upstairs. Black Elvis isn't here, but guess who is here? Where are you, Black Elvis? He was going to tell us some stories. He was going to talk about Elvis. There he is. There's Black Elvis. There we go. There's Black Elvis. Hey,
Black Elvis.
Good to see you, Black Elvis. How you doing?
I'm all right. How's everybody doing?
Great. You regale us with stories. They're sick of listening to me. I'm the only one who knows anything about Elvis.
Yeah, you're quite Elvis versed.
So, anybody have a favorite Elvis song in here?
That's right. Of course, I've got a lot of songs.
I'm not qualified to say. I know so few of them. Or if I've heard them, I don't know that it's him singing them.
I love. There's a lot of gospel songs that I.
Why Me, Lord, will probably be my favorite gospel song.
Yeah, Chris Christopherson, who wrote Me and Bobby McGee, wrote Why Me, Lord. Right?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Coincidence?
Mm-hmm.
Coincidence.
My Bluetooth speaker. The small
He's
one.
gonna play you some Elvis music.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's get it.
Well,
All
we're
right.
not sure it's going to be good on Felina's channel.
You said what?
She might get dinged for copyright.
We know what they'll
yeah.
do is they'll say if I have to remove it, then I could edit it out if they give me a strike or something. Or if they tell me
my lives,
Well, how many
all my
seconds,
lives, I always delete my lives because I know I'm gonna get a strike. That's how my first channel got deleted. Horrible. Very horrible. But yeah, I would say when it comes to Elvis songs, my favorite tempo is always gonna be my favorite genre is always gonna be the up tempo tunes. Then when you slow it down, like I got a lot of verses when it comes to original songs and regular Elvis songs. So I do a lot of them like compare it together. Like I have to say the worst person I didn't ever sit here and did a compilation video with when it comes to Elvis songs is Tom Jones. That shit is horrible. That shit is rough to hear. If you ever go listen to Tom Jones Poke Salad Annie, that shit is terrible.
You mean Tom Jones doing Polka Salad Annie?
Yes, he did Poke Salad Annie. That shit was garbage. High quality garbage at its best. I bullshit you not.
That's good. Miss Genius is with us tonight.
I like Tom Jones. I do. But that right there was terrible. Like, just keep it at Delilah and let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Welcome to All Tech Lansing.
But Tom Jones, that's definitely a good way to go. That's definitely a good way to go. When you want to hear how not to do the song, Tom Jones, check that out.
How not to do that? What about what do you call it? The American Trilogy. Tom Jones has his version of American Trilogy.
You know what's funny about that song, American Trilogy? I think it was the group called the Indians. They did that song, and it was kind of awkward watching them do that song. But everything about it was Elvis drawn down. They pretty much copied how he did it, from the brass to the steps and everything. It was just hella awkward. Very awkward.
Cover
But
songs
who else?
it's a little
Not
awkward.
Sweet Caroline. Is that Sweet Caroline? Yeah. You ever heard Sweet Caroline?
Oh, I've heard him do Sweet Caroline.
So when you hear the original with Neil Diamond, that's
Yeah, oh, I know. Yeah.
that's a whole nother take itself right there. That's something.
That's where the magic happens.
But shout out to Neil Diamond though, because he wrote a beautiful song. He just didn't know how to perform it at all. Or it would have been good if Elvis didn't touch it. It's like once somebody did a song and it was like a hit record and Elvis touched it, it was Elvis's song from that point on. I never would
It's
even know.
always on my mind. Willie Nelson. Did he write that? Did he write Always on My Mind?
Yeah, that Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
Yeah.
And
His version is different than Elvis's version. Elvis's version is on the Separate Ways album.
Yeah.
And you got there's Old Shep on that album too.
You have a favorite album?
Do I have a favorite album? Oh my god. Ooh. Well, my mother had an original Jailhouse Rock, like 45, that had a lot of songs on it. I remember that as a kid. Well, the separate ways. Actually, I really love his gospel. I love Elvis gospel music.
Wrong with that.
And there's a lot of up tempo, like How High, So High, I can't get over it. So wide, can't get around it. You must go in the front door. Goes like that.
I say the Memphis album, that's probably my favorite album right there. It has no skips on it. The playlist is everything. That's the one that has Long Black Limousine on there.
Oh, I love that song. Oh, that one should be played. Okay, whatchamacallit? Hey, you, Rob, Mad Dog is here. If you ever don't know what Mad Dog looks like, this is Mad Dog right here, right now.
Hey, Mad Dog.
How's it going?
All right.
You're from the South. Mad Dog is from the South.
I'm from the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, I remember you. Yeah.
I've never had my face on the stream before. I came in here and talked one time many moons ago, but yeah, I'm a little short on the beard these days. Apologies, just did a reset, but it's good to see y'all.
Good to see you too. Robert Reed he's a Comanche
I
Indian.
saw a stream. I'm getting in here. Come on, it's the Felina stream. I gotta get my stupid face on the internet and join the party.
Play Long Black Limousine is one of my. You know what? I didn't know he sang that song. I didn't hear that until like last year. It was the first time I heard it. It's like really weird that I had never heard that song, but he does it's just really well done. I almost played it in my father's funeral footage. My sister would have pulled my throat out.
Siblings and siblings and the rivalries and the rippings.
Black Elvis is gonna play something. He's gonna cheer up this stream. That's for sure.
Heck yeah.
Don't you know that's where I wanna be?
What's that song? Oh, How the Web is Woven? That's How the Web is Woven.
Where's everybody? So where's everybody from in here? Anybody from down south?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Gotcha.
Was that
Adrian,
West
where you
Carolina?
Adrian, your mic is off. Put your mic on.
Yeah. So hi. I'm from a little bit north of Toronto in Canada.
Oh, Canada.
So not south at all.
Are you still under lockdown?
It feels like it. I mean, it might as well be. I mean, we've all given up. It's pretty pathetic.
I know.
I've
You're
heard
being
that
held
Canada's
hostage by a face painter.
COVID.
Well, they've got the crowd whooped up, so the police don't have to do anything. The crowd will beat you down. You try and have like the crowd. It's snitch culture. It's
Kind of feels like Eastern Bloc politics.
I just shut down my chopper in a giant thrift store in downtown Shelton, Washington. Outside right now, there's a huge street fair going on with like live music and everything. We do not give a fuck.
That's awesome.
Where do you live? In Fucktown?
I live in Shelton, Washington.
Oh, Shelton. I thought it was Fuckton.
Yeah. I have a fuck ton of fun in Shelton. We're just northwest of Olympia, which is where failed presidential candidate Jay Inslee hails from. The only guy that got, I think he was out before Kamala Harris. It was a really 50-50. Which one of them was a bigger piece of shit?
I don't even know Jay Inslee. That's how.
Yeah, that's how unsuccessful he was in the Democratic primaries.
Well, what I hear
the
about
whole state was mad, like, we don't even like you. Why are you running on our budget? Yeah.
what I hear about the Pacific Northwest is that it's basically like Seattle and Portland and Olympia and basically everything else, and everything else hates the people in those coastal cities.
And what you've heard is absolutely accurate. And the thing is, Seattle isn't coastal; it's on the Sound. I'm in the last county on the Puget Sound that votes Republican. It's Mason County, and
you're not too far from where I live. I live in NorCal,
Northern California. Yeah, you're only like 6 or 8 hours away, depending on how fast.
What part of Northern California are you from?
What part of Northern California? I'm in the Butte County area.
Oh, okay. I'm from Sacramento.
Oh, you're from Sacramento. I've been there multiple times.
I thought you were from the South. That's why you asked it. Yeah.
Killer bands in Sacramento, like Twitch Angry. Like, you know Twitch Angry down there?
No.
They're like they're underground hardcore band. They have this song, "Sacto Town is a ghetto town." It's fucking glorious. Dude, check out Twitch Angry. They have the token black bass player. That's his line. He's like, "Sacto Town." It's fucking glorious though. That band kicks ass. Play a couple shows with them.
Well, basically all of those cities that are strung like Christmas lights along Highway 99 are all ghetto towns.
Yeah, but Sacto is actually kind of cool. I mean, it's also really horrible, but it's kind of cool. So fucking Elvis, hell yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of like Sacramento, even though it is kind of ghetto in some areas. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, it is what it is. That's the truth. Talk that shit.
It is what it is. Exactly. And the thing is, like, I don't think well, at least I don't mean to be referring to the blacker, darker parts of town or anything like that.
That's not what I meant.
The whole city is just kind of scummy. But that's fun. It's fun. It's cool, man. Like, it's a fun little city, man. If you haven't ever visited, you should at least once.
The city where I'm at, there's a ton of homeless people, and most of them are white, but they're kind of funny to listen to.
In my town, all the homeless people are white.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one guy, he's blue, but that's because he's addicted to colloidal silver, and I'm pretty sure it's going to kill him.
Would they kill you, Adrian? Adrian would know. Would this colloidal silver kill you?
Colloidal silver?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll kill you right away, but I don't think it's good for you.
So I shouldn't be sucking on silver.
When you get to the point that your skin turns blue, right? Like good old Blue Paul. He's one of our favorite homeless. He comes in, buys a pair of pants when he needs it. You know, at the thrift shop downtown. And oh man, like man is literally blue from the silver. And I worry.
That's a waste of silver.
It is. He should make himself. He should just dump all that shit out, strain it, make a spoon, like a cool silver spoon,
silver bullet, anything.
Yeah. It'd be totally sweet.
Yeah, but colloidal silver.
But instead he just turns himself blue. I don't know.
Huh? What's he taking it for?
I'm not sure. I keep
To
asking
turn
him that.
blue.
He says,
He
health
has
purposes.
aspirations of being a
General health
Smurf.
purposes.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
Smurf.
No,
Papa Smurf.
he has met those aspirations. Those are in the past now. He's just blue. If he could keep a beat, they'd probably give him a freaking free pass to the Blue Man Group, but not so much.
Well, if you eat nettles exclusively, you will turn green. I know a Milarepa from he's a Buddhist saint.
Yep, Milarepa. I remember.
Yeah. He sat in a cave all day because he'd done some black magic when he was young, and so to burn off that bad karma, he ate nettles for the rest of his life, and he lost all his muscles, and his intestines shrunk. And then his skin, you could see skin over his bones, but it had a green tinge to it. But the good part is that he reached enlightenment. So there you go.
Colloidal silver is used as a
hold on. Hats off, buddy.
Yeah, so Milarepa.
I'm taking that off today.
Well, it's a small price for enlightenment.
Yeah.
I mean, if was it? Yeah, it's a small price for enlightenment, I guess. I'm not about to try though. I'd rather do it the hard way. I'd rather white knuckle.
Skin turns green, absolute atrophy, become a challenger, hitting 1/3. Congratulations, you're a goblin, but you have enlightenment. Just look out for adventurers, buddy.
Yeah.
You realize this fucking sucks. That's your enlightenment.
I'm familiar with a lot of the.
I've never heard the word F-U-C-K more than on any of my streams. I don't even think I've said
it's the Jerry Springer show, basically.
I'm sorry. It's late. I've been working for 12 hours at a thrift shop. There's the street fair. I kept it open. Now I'm just like, F it.
Thrift shops always do you in. They're the end, right before the grave. It's the thrift shop.
Well, it wasn't really a choice. You see, I used to be a professional entertainer, and then COVID kicked in, and then this building that Grandpa threw together for JCPenney's $1.5 million years ago in the late 40s had a thrift shop in it. Quit, and they're like, we give up. I'm like, all right, well, I'll take over the thrift shop since I don't have a music gig because there's viruses, and now I sell used books and shirts.
There you go. My room
This might do me in. I need to get back into the entertainment business. Felina, you're ahead of me. Yeah.
Well, you want to play some music, Black Elvis, and tell us about your why did you get what about Elvis do you like, or you got any good stories about Elvis that I might not know?
I mean, Elvis is a straight gangster, so we can start there. You know what I mean? That's the first thing that catches your attention. A straight shooter, no bullshit. That's the main thing that really catches me. I don't like no bullshitter, and Elvis is really a straight shooter when it comes to it. And from the stories that I know pretty much. I do a lot. I do a lot of shit. I do a lot of skits. I do a lot of reactions. I do a lot of compilation videos. I talk to a lot of people who are still around. I had got a book from Dick Grob's wife, which was one of Elvis' security. Dick Grob had passed in April. But I know all types of stuff. And I make skits out of them. Like I make a bunch of Klan skits and shit. A lot of shit that has to do with Elvis. But
skits.
I make full-on documentaries and things like that. But there's stories for everything. You know, he was generous. He gave out plenty of cars. This dude is the only person I know that will drive 3 states over just to get a goddamn peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
He chartered an airplane. He
took everybody
to get a damn peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Peanut butter and banana sandwich. Fried peanut butter banana sandwich.
No bacon?
Well, when you're that rich, you could do that.
No
Man, I
bacon.
never had.
Says the Canadian. No bacon.
Yeah, peanut
The
butter
rumors are
banana,
true.
and bacon.
Canada's made out of bacon.
And maple syrup.
Yep.
I have to admit that the only reason I know that is because this was like 15 years ago. I was seeing a VH1 special. It was like biggest celebrity expenditures. And it was like everyone you would expect. It was like J-Lo, it was like Mariah Carey, all those usual suspects. But the number one spot was reserved for Elvis when he chartered an airplane to get a white bread and banana and peanut butter sandwich.
Well, it was his
Yeah.
plane. The plane is called the Lisa Marie. He named it after his daughter. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
everybody got on the Lisa
Allegedly
Marie.
slept with Michael Jackson at least once.
Elvis.
Huh?
Lisa Marie Presley was married to Michael
Lisa
Jackson.
Marie,
So they
Lisa Marie.
allegedly slept together at least once to consummate the marriage.
Did she say that?
Somebody
What do
had
you
to beat
think
that ass
happened,
up.
Black Elvis? What do you think happened between Lisa Marie and MJ?
Well, Michael Jackson is a nigga at the end of the day, so I mean, it's only right. It's only right that you tear that ass up.
Talking about Michael Jackson or?
Yeah, Michael Jackson had to. I mean, you got to tear that ass up at least one
I've seen
time.
her in that music video. I'd have torn it up, and I ain't even black.
Because I study a lot of Soviet history, I watched that one video where he's in the Moscow May Day parade dancing with the Red Army. Thought that was interesting.
But that would have been a combination if she, instead of Debbie Rowe. Have any of you here seen Debbie Rowe, the one who actually had his children?
I mean, those aren't his kids, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, she's like,
I mean, one thing, all right, the black community will never forgive Michael Jackson for trying to pull that bullshit on us.
There's like a lot of other women that you could, you know what I mean? A lot of other women. Debbie Rowe.
That was sketchy.
She's definitely facially challenged, though.
Facially challenged.
That's his attention.
I never understood that. He's got the money. He's famous. I swear to God, all you have to do is say, hey, I want to have some kids. The line starts here. You know what I mean?
His father was the worst manager of all time.
His father, Michael Jackson's father?
Worst manager of all time.
What about the Colonel? Shit, the Colonel, he had to be the worst.
What?
The Colonel for Elvis Presley, he had to be the worst. He signed
Elvis. I'm saying MJ's dad was even worse. He couldn't even hook him up with a good-looking white woman.
I mean, he didn't.
Like, how hard is that to do? Not hard. Not hard. There are plenty of them.
Maybe when he bleached himself, his eyes got fucked up. Oh no.
something. But the thing is, a good manager would have recognized his eyes were bad and sent him something better down the line. He's just like, oh, you want white girl? And then
if you want white girl, I would say Lisa Marie. Knock Lisa Marie up, for God's sake. That what a like
Elvis fans would not like that shit there.
Why not? I mean, he would be. I mean, these kids. Go ahead.
Half the Elvis fans don't even like Michael Jackson. Like on some real shit, half the Elvis fans can't stand Michael Jackson. All because of that goddamn title to King. You know, that shit is stupid.
King, I don't like what he did to his face.
It didn't help.
I mean, my mother told me that she says to me that, she was reading or heard this plastic surgeon said that he better stop working on his nose because it's going to fall off his face. And he went one too far. You know what I mean? He kept like getting plastic surgery, and then that's it.
He didn't even have a nose. That motherfucker had a nostril.
He had
like one nostril left.
That's right. The whole thing came in. Why did he do that? He should have stopped.
That is a nose that could never support a habit, and that's how he knew he was on the level.
The what?
I fuck with Michael Jackson.
His nose could not support the old habit, like the new one. Like, but you knew he wasn't one of those he wasn't one of those coked out rock stars. Because let's face it, that nose couldn't support it.
Hell no,
not a chance.
That shit was smaller than a straw.
Dude, skull nose.
He ended up with a.
surgery. When he fixed his nose the first time and he did the Rock With You video, he looked nice.
Mhm.
He was he was not
All
white. He
night.
was a beautiful.
Oh,
His skin was a beautiful color. His hair was nice. His face looked great. It's just the first nose job. Stop. Stop. No more. No more.
Maybe it's like a tattoo.
Nice. That's it.
He-
Like-
Have anybody you want, you're Michael Jackson.
Like with tattoos, you can't get just one.
yeah.
Maybe with facial surgery and reconstruction and stuff like that.
It
you
was
kinda-
just like, why do that
Keep
to
going.
yourself? I mean, you looked
I asked
really
my
good
same,
at some point.
I asked the same thing about what's his name, Sean Clush, who tried to make himself look like Elvis.
Who did that? I don't know.
The Elvis impersonator, the Sean Clush dude. He's one of the
Oh.
top. That motherfucker can't even stand next to a candle. His face is gonna melt. It's over. That motherfucker gonna melt.
You ain't wrong.
And he got
Guys,
shoulders
my
like he
battery
was
just
trying
told me I
to wear
need to
them
get the
Elvis
heck
boots
out of
and
here. Your
shit.
face
He's
is
trying to wear them
beautiful. I
Elvis
love
boots
you
and
all.
he got
I
he
got
got
to
shoulders
go.
like a
I will
bitch.
try to be on the stream.
I think Mad Dog is saying goodbye.
I'm dipping out my battery on my cellular phone. It's been on for like 12 or 15 hours.
Peace.
All right, I'll
I'll see you all in the future. Thank you so much for the stream link links. And Black Elvis, stay black, stay sexy.
Yeah,
Right.
subscribe to Black Elvis. Everybody, subscribe to Black Elvis.
Stay inflated, and all the rest of y'all see you in the future.
I see you soon, Mad Dog.
See you, Mad Dog.
Yeah, I gotta take this time to check out as well. It's getting late for me.
You're in the same time zone as us.
I know, but I've been up since
Yeah.
3 hours, so it's time for me to hit the sack. And I hope you all have a fantastic night. Thanks so much for having me on. Wish I had something more interesting to say about Elvis, but I'm just ignorant.
No, you're smart. You just comment. You
Well,
comment.
when it comes to Elvis and things like that, I don't know shit. So, but I'll comment as I can and hopefully not be too disrespectful. I try and make.
No. You're always respectful, except for the time when you weren't.
All right, so have a great night, guys, and I'll be on next time I can.
Okay, bye, Adrian. Thank
Right,
you
peace.
for coming.
Peace.
So I have a kind of an Elvis related question, and I'll throw it to the connoisseurs here. But yeah, we all hear a thing that there are purists who only like his very early Sun Records, the little singles he made, and then he went to Capitol. There are some people who say, well, it's all inferior from then on. So what's the opinion of you guys?
That 50 shit is that 50 shit, man. That's that. If you get to the 60s and the 70s, with the late 60s, and the early 70s.
Well, you have Indie Ghetto, and you have Suspicious.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone loves those songs.
He's saying a lot.
Yeah, you got a lot of. There's a lot of songs this man did that'll probably surprise you. You come check out my channel, you'll find you some hidden gems in there. Like he got some good records, but that early stuff, the reverb and the echo on them joints was low key horrible. But the songs themselves, you could see that this man was destined to have like some power in his voice, and the way that the voice matured throughout the years. On top of that, it was crazy. Like you see the projection he did in the 50s and the projection he did in the late 60s and the 70s. It's a whole nother jump. And then the mixing and mastering was way better because, like I said, in the 50s, I don't know what the hell they was recording with. Maybe a tin can, some string, something like that.
Did they do the thing where they printed it directly into the acetate or something? They recorded it live into the acetate. I mean,
I believe so. That's how they recorded, especially a lot of those concerts. Was just like that. But the 50s is cool, but it takes some getting used to. I got to be in a 50s mood.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go right past all that shit.
Like the early Sun recordings was, Lottie Miss Claudie and I Got a Woman. I like that song.
Yeah.
I was once when I was on Balboa Island in California, and I was doing my laundry, and there's a guy who had a convertible, white convertible, and he offered to bring me home, and he plays I Got a Woman way across town. She's good to me as we're driving down the island of Balboa. That was so cool. Turns out he was an Elvis impersonator.
Felina was married at this time, by the way, but yes.
Very briefly, yeah.
You were married at one point?
Very briefly.
Oh, wow.
So, so you don't like any of the 50s stuff? Oh,
We lost. He'll be back, I'm sure.
You're lost and we're left.
He'll be back.
So yeah, I remember watching the movie Elvis and Nixon, which was a 2016 movie with Michael Shannon as Elvis.
What's your review of it?
See it.
I liked it. Really good. Really interesting.
Yeah. I heard the story sounded really good.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's a really, as a historian, I really enjoyed it.
Well,
go ahead.
Felina knows all about that. Elvis gifted him his gun. What was that?
The gun from I think it was Patton's gun from D-Day.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, it was the nicest gift he could. He's thinking, "Who I'm going to see the president? I'm going to give him the nicest, most American gift you could find." You can't get more American than that. And Nixon didn't even know who Elvis was. He shows up with a purple velvet cape.
Yeah, it's interesting because most of the celebrities at the time were very hostile to Richard Nixon, except for Elvis.
Yeah. Can you see if Black Elvis is in the studio?
He's done.
Okay.
He's gone.
Yeah. What was that? I was hearing it's some what is it? God, I can't even remember her name. Some actress. Oh yeah, it was some guy, some celeb. Oh, I wish I could remember the story, but he was trying to call this actress who lived in the Hollywood Hills, and he kept this like, well, you need to repair this leak. I said, okay, I'll do it. And it says he'll come back. He kept giving. He thought it was the caretakers. Like it was Richard Nixon who was actually renting the house from her. And then later on, when she found out that it was Richard Nixon in her house, she had it exorcised or something.
Jeez.
The ghost of Richard Nixon?
No, it was the actual. This is when he was alive, but he was renting a house.
Oh, he's renting a house when he was alive.
Days with Jordan the Lion is the channel I got that from, and he's a big Elvis fan. He's a big Elvis fan. I think I've directed you to some of his videos, but yeah, he's a good thing for sort of old Hollywood trivia like that.
Yeah, Elvis also he also joined the U.S. Army in 1958 and left in 1960.
Yep. Yeah, it was
sergeant stripes.
I was going to say he made the sergeant and got the Good Conduct Medal.
Yeah, he did. He didn't. Yeah, he actually earned it, and that's what made the guys respect him. He didn't have any privileges being an entertainer.
Yeah, he was in the headquarters company, 1st Medium Tank Battalion of the 32nd D Armor Regiment, 3rd Armored Division.
Jeez, this knowledge has to be put to good use.
Yeah.
It was Shelley Winters. Richard Nixon was renting Shelley Winters' house. Yeah. And then she had to exercise.
Winters played Elvis's mother in one of those movies. I think it was the Kurt Russell movie. I think she was Elvis's mother.
It all winds back together. Yes.
Man, Black Elvis just left the building really fast.
Black Elvis has left the building.
Yeah, he just got Am's. Somebody said, maybe I said something.
I thought
yeah, it's kind of weird.
Nixon had his own compound in San Clemente. Well, he had 2 houses in Truesdale Estates. I know that. John Harrison is more of a Sid Vicious guy. And
did he die? Did he commit suicide?
No, he drug overdose.
Oh, did he? Yeah,
Jeez.
he overdosed.
Drugs. It's drugs.
Drugs. I told you, it's always drugs.
But now, Johnny Lydon is a big MAGA guy.
That's right. That's right. Can you believe it? It's like, you know, even what you call Smashing Pumpkins, the guy from Smashing Pumpkins.
Billy Corgan.
Yeah. What song? Oh, who's the lead singer of Coldplay?
Chris Martin.
Yeah,
So sad, I know that.
I know he hates the song "Creep" because everybody goes, that's all they want to hear is "Creep." They want to ask questions about "Creep."
No, you're thinking of Radiohead, but when you listen to a lot of like early Coldplay, they really do sound like Radiohead.
Yeah, they probably got inspiration from them. Yeah, but apparently he was stalking a girl.
Really?
That's what the song is about. He was stalking a girl.
So wait, are you talking about Tom York?
And when he was in college.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why basically he hates it because it was of a time of his life and everybody likes it. It's like, stop it. Like, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, yeah, if you go to a Beck concert, he'll never play Loser,
I never heard Loser.
Well, it's kind of the same. There was a lot of like self-deprecating songs in the 90s.
There's another song.
Well, there were a lot of songs like that in the 2000s.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. When I heard Eminem's first song, I thought it was like a novelty because the whole white guy doing self-deprecating rap was already a genre by the time Eminem had his first single. So I thought, oh, well, this is like the Bloodhound Gang. This is another one of those. So I kind of wrote him off as soon as I heard that.
Yeah.
Ooh, the Republicans are calling on Biden to resign.
I think a lot of Democrats are calling on Biden.
I don't think that's a good idea because who's going to take his place? It's going to be Kamala Harris.
Mental state. I know the mental state of the entire
By the way,
division.
I'm not going to say too much about this because people judge you but there is a Christian preacher on YouTube named Timothy Dixon who has had a lot to say, and it's all very, very, very interesting in light of these events. So really do check out Timothy Dixon's prophecy.
Is he like pro-Trump or what?
Yeah.
Meghan McCain here has got her 15 minutes of fame going. Biden is unfit to lead. Meghan McCain says there should be an emergency congressional hearing before more lives are ... But
that's stupid because who's going to take his place? It's going to be Kamala Harris, and she's far more competent in her ideology.
Nancy Pelosi. She's third in line to the throne.
Well,
but it's not going to be her.
You could say what you will. I'd rather, even if they're vile, I'd rather have a person who doesn't have dementia in the Oval Office.
They all have dementia. You got Pelosi. She's full of Botox.
Well, no, Pelosi has dementia. Pelosi is not that far behind.
And what's the other one? Schumer.
Yeah, and
the entire freak show. Entire freak show. That was the Democrat debates. They were all freaks.
Where Kamala called Biden a racist.
Yeah.
So, you think she has any loyalty to Joe Biden?
But she's much more ideological.
Well, they do it because you got to knock them out. That's what Trump did. He knocked everybody out.
Do you want to know how I feel? And you guys can mock me. You guys can mock me if you want.
We'll mock you. We'll mock you. We'll mock you. Bohemian Rhapsody style.
I think Kamala is already singing.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a sense, she's already pulling the strings. She's basically
I'm saying she's AWOL. I think she's out. I think she's singing. I think she's
gone. Yeah, she's gone.
She's telling people what she knows.
They all know what's going on. He doesn't make and. Do you honestly think he's making any decisions?
No,
well, there was a quote, something like that, where it was like Biden said, Kamala, or he said something like basically Kamala was calling the shots. I don't know if you remember that, basically.
Well,
or he said President Harris, and I, but he meant to say
he's always messing things.
I think Kamala and the Bidens are antagonistic. I think they're warring factions. I think they're trying to do a Spiro Agnew on Kamala Harris.
I always thought it was more kind of like a Medvedev versus Putin, and Putin, where after Vladimir Putin completed his 2 terms in Russia from 2000 to 2008. He had to give up his presidential administration, and so he basically handpicked Dmitry Medvedev, who, on theory, was running the shots for one presidential term before Putin returned.
Okay, so this is my thing is that I think obviously Biden's a puppet. I think Kamala's a puppet too. She's a Los Angeles prosecutor. I don't think she's that ideological.
Prosecutor?
She's a corrupt prosecutor. I don't think she's that ideological.
Well, wasn't she like a former cop or something like that?
Yeah.
She's prosecutor. They call that a cop.
So I think she's out. And if you watch the Timothy Dixon videos going back months, he's had a whole lot to say about this. Well, I don't even know how much I want to say about it. But yeah, it's all very interesting. I don't think she has any loyalty. I don't think they have any loyalty to her. I think whenever you hear anything about, Kamala's staff says that she's a nightmare to work with, that's Biden's people who are leaking that. Because
really,
so you think it's her to look good.
So you think it's kind of like a SS versus SA type thing?
The example I've heard with Steve Troy is that it's Nixon versus Agnew. They're trying to undermine each other.
Or Trotsky versus Stalin.
Well, with fewer ice picks, but
yeah,
like they're trying to make Kamala look bad, so they won't do the 25th. And of course, Kamala is trying to make Biden look bad because he actually is bad. But yeah,
that's interesting because I didn't consider that. Like I said, I always thought it was kind of like a Putin or Medvedev as Putin's puppet type thing instead. But here in America, it was Biden as Kamala Harris's puppet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
That's the way I think. They're all crap. They're all crap. But there is ideological crap, and then there's just standard corrupt politician crap.
Right.
I think both Biden and Kamala Harris are just both, even Pelosi, even Schumer, they don't have convictions. They're just crooked politicians.
Well, they've been in politics for like almost 80 years now, or 60.
Yeah. Now they're puppet masters. That's another story.
Yeah, they're donor class.
Yeah, the globalists. But so P says, Felina, Rob, there's a book called The Banality of Evil about the Nuremberg trials. If you haven't read it already, I recommend doing so. It puts the present day into perspective. Illuminating. Yes, is that Hannah Arendt. Hannah Arendt had a sort of checklist for telltale signs of when a society is on the precipice of tyranny. One of them I found very interesting. It's the politicization of everything.
Yeah, that was good. I was just going to mention that. I read that in a book too.
Yeah, if that does not describe the 2020s, I don't know. I don't know what it is that we have. Everything on TV has to be politicized.
Well, that's kind of funny because like one of my reactionary friends was like this was during Pride Month, right? And he compared a photograph of like a cereal box in North Korea versus a cereal box in the U.S. And he said that because the cereal box in the U.S. had the LGBT Pride thing, and we celebrate Pride. And he said even North Korea doesn't shove political propaganda on its cereal, and he compared it, and like the North Korean one has no political ideology.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Do you think the citizens of China are hearing anything about Okay, so do you think the largest standing army in the world is hearing anything about toxic masculinity or pronouns or any of that crap? No, they want young, virile men who are masculine. They don't want this toxic masculinity crap. They don't want this drag queen story hour. They know what a corrupting influence it is.
Did you see the military recruitment ads?
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
And people compared it to the Russian army and the Chinese army recruitment. Yeah.
Well, okay. So what do you think is going to happen with Millie? I mean, we knew he was a POS, but he's disgraced too now.
Who?
Millie, General Millie.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Woke. I like the photoshops where they give him the Megan Rapinoe hair. They give him glasses.
He was the one who said that, critical theory should be taught in the military.
Yeah, and he's also the one who talks about white rage about January.
Yeah. Okay, 2 hours and 49 minutes, and I don't have much time left on StreamYard.
Well, it's great seeing you guys.
Yeah.
And we're talking politics.
Yeah.
Robert Fried, all roads lead to Rome. But I thought it was good.
All roads lead to politics. Yeah. Gotta be careful.
Yeah. Just like, going to hell in a handbasket. That's all I had to say.
Well, watch the Timothy Dixon videos. Again, he has a different take. He has a different hot take, as Peace loves to say. But yes, people romanticize the earlier works of a lot of artists: Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, Queen. Yes, interesting phenomenon on that. Yeah, a lot of times people run out of ideas too. But
and now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain.
Is that Judy Garland?
What?
Is that Judy
Frank
Garland?
Sinatra. And Elvis. Elvis sang that song too. My Way?
Oh, okay. Well, that was very nice. I've never heard you sing before.
Thank you.
You can sing us out.
Oh, what was I don't know what song to sing.
Just finish My Way.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. I know who said that at the end of every show. How old are you, Rob? Do you know who said that? I know who said that.
Is that Carol Burnett?
No, his initials are JD. Last name is an Italian name.
Oh.
No, you don't know. Good night.
Let's dance. Put on your red shoes and dance.
He took his hat off and he walked into the circles of light. You don't know? Oh, what was his favorite song?
Your Italian sing Sinatra. My dad was not a Sinatra fan. He much preferred Jerry Vale. He much preferred a whole bunch of people.
Have Rob sing Let's Dance.
I already did that.
You don't know? Then okay, the answer is Jimmy Durante with the big nose.
Yeah.
Jimmy Durante. Do you know him?
I didn't know he was Italian.
Well, the name Durante is Italian. Here, John Harrison, he wrote Jimmy D. Rob. He was trying to give you a hint. Jimmy Durante.
I'm half Irish, but that's good because I hear a certain someone does not like full-blooded Southern Italian men. So that actually works to my favor. So yes. So that's my saving grace.
Yes.
If I were 100% Neapolitan,
Rob is half Irish and half Italian.
And
Italians were hugely discriminated against.
oh, Felina
Yeah.
about that. But
Yeah.
we don't have another 3 hours to go.
I know we do.
I was thinking. Yeah, I was just.
That's right. Jim Crow South did not like the Italians. Southerns, particularly Southern Italians, all Northern Italians sold the Southern Italians out.
But you have the exact same prejudice.
But the thing of it is, they still didn't even like the
Just the
Northern
men.
Italians because they were still Catholic.
The men.
Okay.
Actually, wait a second. Pelosi's a Southern Italian.
And she
Wait
has
a minute.
she has a Michael Jackson nose too.
Maria Bartiromo, is she Southern?
It sounds like it.
I mean, so there's Northern and Southern. They all have Italian names. Look it up. Maria Bartiromo. Is it Northern or Southern? Is she Northern or Southern?
Why? This is the most random question.
Sophia Loren. Is she Northern or Southern?
She's Sicilian or something.
If she's not Southern, I'm not going to eat her food. Oh, boy.
I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to find this out. Let's see. Italian Josephine Bartiromo. Oh, from so they're for mother's families from Sicily. Her grandfather from Campania. I don't know.
That's Southern, yeah. She's Southern. Okay. Well, there's one. There are not many good Southern Italians out there. I'm sorry to say. This is my Maria Bartiromo moment.
Yeah, you have to have the girls out. Out.
Yeah.
The big Southern Italian
At
girls.
the Catholic was it the Catholic diocese? They had a dinner for Hillary and Donald Trump, when they were running for office, and they were both it was, what do you call it? It's they used to do it at the Friars Club. Roast. It was a roast.
Yeah.
And so they both got up, and so it doesn't matter which one got up and talked. Maria Bartiromo was sitting behind them. She had this black dress, bust, her cleavage was up to here, right? And you didn't see her head; you just saw their cleavage. I was like, "Who won the debate last night?" Maria Bartiromo. Yeah, she'll always win the debate.
It's John Harrison. It's just bad associations, unfortunately.
Oh, which was it? The men. Unfortunately, I've known one too many. But then again, when you look Cuomo.
Not de Blasio.
He's Warren Wilhelm. I told everybody he was a Nazi ages ago. I mean, I pegged him and now he's making his city Nazi Germany.
Papers, please. Yes.
I called him a Nazi ages ago.
Oh, I heard about that thing he did where, like, if you can't get the vaccine because your doctor recommends against it or you're compromised or whatever, they're like discriminating against you.
Yeah.
Tim Pool was talking about that.
And yeah, well, as the leftists always say, if something has a differential racial effect, it's racist. Well, this is racist against blacks and Latinos since they're
and working class whites.
Yeah, they're much less vaccinated. Probably smart for doing that, if you ask me.
Yeah, because that vaccine is like.
Well, okay, let's back away from this. Yes.
No, I'm not saying vaccines cause autism, but
this the blast hole, yes, needs to be
The blast hole.
Yes, well, that's something Felina and I always say. We have the worst poll. We get the worst poll. We got Pelosi. We get Garcetti. We got Cuomo. We have all of them. Terrible, terrible, the worst.
Yeah, so America's becoming a police state under them.
Well, again, hope and pray for the best. Keep praying.
Yeah.
Watch Timothy Dixon videos.
Yeah. There's a line from one of my favorite movies, Kundun, about the Dalai Lama, but when he and his team flees to Tibet, there's an excellent scene where one of his top advisors says, "Right will win, good or wrong will lose, right will win," and he tosses a stone back at the palace. Really interesting scene.
John, I never said vaccines cause autism. So yeah, I'm no hypocrisy. You know what's one of the best lines? It's a line from a movie that's always stuck with me. I don't know if it's a common saying or something, but it's so good. It's from the movie A Beautiful Mind, which really wasn't a great movie. But when he
won everything.
Yeah, it won every. It was a movie that won every award and then was forgotten about. But it's like when he's like in with the CIA.
Oh, you mean A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe? That was yeah. It wasn't even a true story. I mean, that wasn't the way the story went.
Yeah, John Nash, who I think was severely
John Nash,
severely autistic or something. It's not the guy gets girl thing that we see in the movie, but yeah, when he's touring the CIA, I think the guy who's giving him the tour or something said something. He said, "Conviction is the luxury of people on the sidelines," and I love that statement. Well, John Harrison is bidding us adieu. Yes, it was directed by Ron Howard.
Well, because I said good night, everyone. I said good night, so he's saying good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Peace.
Yes. Bless you, and thank you for joining the Elvis stream.
Thank you, Mad Dog. Thank you, Black Elvis. Thank you, Dylan. Dylan's a new guy. We haven't seen Dylan before, as far as I know.
That's right. Yeah, I think. Oh, did I see him once before?
Okay. Thank you all. Join us next year. same Elvis time, same Elvis channel.
We'll be on the night. We'll have the candles. We should have the candles. I wonder what we did wrong. Black Elvis ran away. I'm upset about that.
Maybe he just got tired and had to fall asleep.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I must have said something wrong. I'm sure it was my fault.
But we also have Janine Pirro. She's good.
Janine Pirro is Lebanese. She's married to an Italian. You are such an idiot. You are such an idiot.
Well, I'm happy.
He's got that Irish
exactly
mention.
Yeah, Irish. You don't know how to cook and you don't know what you're doing.
Like Irish shepherds. We're just dumb.
God bless everyone. Maybe we'll be back tomorrow night.
Ever know something, Professor Nash? Constantly. Yeah. I guess maybe there are a few good lines.